Chapter 872. At this time, Night Sorrow's true body had also obtained a map. It was an island in the desolate sea of the realm of unbounded desolation. He searched for Orchid Book handle and read new chapters. Good. Since there's an opportunity, I have to seize it, Night Sorrow said as he waved his arm. What's wrong? She asked as she looked at Night Sorrow. Following that, Night Sorrow told her about the origin of the desolation laws. That's great. You'll have a chance to upgrade your body with the time attribute, she said happily. She hoped to see Night Sorrow succeed. After drinking a pot of tea, Night Sorrow left the Spacetime Pagoda and went to the command tent. You're in good shape. You're fine, Enchanting said as he looked at Night Sorrow. It's done. How's the situation now? Night Sorrow asked. It's stable. The Netherrealm's understanding of formations is very low. They won't be able to break our formation, Enchanting said. How are Saint Shang and Senior Underworld Saint's injuries? Night Sorrow asked. 2 days ago, Heavenly Underworld Saint came out. He is almost fully recovered, but it will take some time for him to fully recover. The same goes for Shang Saint. There are no major problems. The main thing is that the few underworld kings who were killed by us managed to inflict some injuries on them. Enchanting explained the situation of Heavenly Underworld Saint and Shang Luo. Night Sorrow nodded. He also understood that it was very difficult to kill a peak saint without suffering any losses. It was already a good thing that both sides weren't injured. After leaving the command tent, Night Sorrow went to the formation area to take a look. The formation area was guarded by Jun Xuanji and Black Shang. They didn't try to break the formation. Night Sorrow asked. They tried. Their level of formation masters is very low. It's impossible for them to break our formation. That underworld king Nine Yin went berserk and attacked for a while. The price we paid was just a few high-grade spirit stones, Jun Xuanji said. Knowing that everything was fine, Night Sorrow returned to the campsite at the spatial passageway's entrance and checked on the god-slaying team members' cultivation progress. When Night Sorrow returned to the command tent, many people had already come out of their cultivation areas. Now, everyone was cultivating in the buildings of the Nether Realm. Seeing that Night Sorrow was fine, everyone was very happy. It could be said that Night Sorrow was now everyone's backbone. Son, don't be so reckless in the future. That's a pinnacle saint. If you get attacked, you'll die. Yu Qing looked at her son worriedly. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, I'll be more careful in the future. The situation is very stable now, and they can't break in. There's no need for us to fight to the death with them. When the other two pinnacle saints have fully recovered, we can use the harassing and robbing tactics. That is, we can rob the sects, cities, and resources of the various forces. Xian Wenxiu said, Commander, that's a good tactic. With our pinnacle saints leading the team, as long as we don't encounter their underworld king, we won't be in any danger. Then let's wait for the two saints to recover. Also, I'll be leaving for a while. If anything happens, crush my messaging crystal. I'll rush back immediately. Also, if there's an accident, we can't defend here. Quickly retreat to the Supreme River space and attack the largest ancient tree 10 miles away from the spatial passageway. Night Sorrow said. Where are you going? Xie Jun asked. She didn't want Night Sorrow to leave now. I have some problems with my cultivation that I need to solve. Night Sorrow explained the reason why he was leaving. Then go. We'll discuss the small matters. We'll inform you if something big happens. Enchanting nodded. He knew that it was very important for Night Sorrow to improve his strength. There were some things that Night Sorrow could solve that others couldn't. After leaving the command tent, Night Sorrow returned to his own tent. After communicating with his parents and 3 fiancées, he sent them to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. Then, he took a teleportation formation and left the spatial passageway. After a few teleportations, Night Sorrow arrived in the realm of unbounded desolation. He teleported to Eastern Desolation City, which was close to the Desolate Sea. Night Sorrow set up a teleportation formation at the edge of the realm sea. Then, he took a flying ship and flew toward the area on the map in his mind. After flying for a while, Night Sorrow controlled the flying ship to fly higher. Because the corrosion of the power of desolation in the Desolate Sea was too strong, the flying ship was affected. On the 3rd day, Night Sorrow arrived at his destination. After storing the flying ship, Night Sorrow used the energy of the Myriad Daos Tome to protect himself and landed on a deserted island full of yellow speckled stones. There was no life on the island. Because of the corrosion of the power of desolation, no life could survive. At the center of the deserted island was a pool with a diameter of more than 100 feet. The Great Pool. This was the Great Desolate Pond. However, it was many times larger than the one Yishang had seen on Taishu Yan Sea Heart Island. Images of the passage of time appeared in the desolate pond. Streaks of energy floated above the desolate pond. It had rich power of desolates and rich power of desolates laws. Yishan knew that this was the kind of place he needed. At the center of the great pool, there was a piece of desolate stone that was about 10 feet wide and contained a very rich energy. Night Sorrow set up a teleportation formation so that he could get to his destination as quickly as possible. As long as the messaging crystal shattered, Night Sorrow could immediately return to the spatial passage in the Supreme River space. After setting up the teleportation formation, Night Sorrow didn't put any spirit stones or teleportation crystals. Because of the corrosion of the power of desolation, the energy in the spirit stones and teleportation crystals would quickly dissipate. After looking around, Night Sorrow's body flashed and landed on the desolate stone. He sorted out his emotions and sat down cross-legged. Then, he started to comprehend the power of desolation emitted by the great pool. The power of desolation had the ability to accelerate time. In other words, a few days in the great pool would be less than a day in the outside world. This situation would be fatal to others because they would lose their lifespan. However, it wasn't the case for Night Sorrow. With the power of desolation's body, the power of desolation couldn't take away his life force. Instead, it helped his cultivation. What he needed the most was time. Night Sorrow's body was inside the Spacetime Pagoda. With the protection of Night Sorrow's body, it wouldn't be invaded. This was equivalent to giving Yi Wuyo, Yu Qing, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi the time acceleration effect. However, it was synchronized with Night Sorrow. It was the same for Xuexi, who was on the 70th floor. Only when Night Sorrow was on the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda would Little Kong use the power of time to accelerate time. Without Night Sorrow, Xuexi didn't receive this treatment. When Night Sorrow cultivated his soul power and improved his cultivation of the Myriad Dao Tome, he was also comprehending the power of desolation. To comprehend the power of desolation, one needed talent and a deep soul power. Night Sorrow had a foundation in both of these. He had good innate conditions. Time passed quickly. As Night Sorrow's cultivation increased, he gradually gained entry into the power of desolation. Scenes of time flowing appeared on Night Sorrow's body. Search for the basket color book to read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 873. In the Realm Sea, on an island in the central prefecture, Ji Yuhao kicked a maidservant away. Commander of 2 worlds, the higher you climb, the more painful it will be for you to fall. Didn't you declare war on Netherrealm? Then I'll let you die at the hands of Netherrealm people. Search for Lazy Book Bar and read a new chapter. After reaching the 7th level Venerable Realm, Ji Yuhao disguised himself and went out to gather information. He learned that Yi Shang had led the nine-domain world to conquer the profound mysteries realm and had become the commander. This made him furious. After thinking about it for a moment, Ji Yuhao made his decision. He was going to screw over Night Sorrow and the people of the Nine Realms. Right now, he hated all the people of the Nine Realms because the Ji Yu family had no place in the Nine Realms world. They were the public enemy of the Nine Realms. After making up his mind, Ji Yuhao went to the Tai Ching domain and captured an iron guard who was transporting resources to the Supreme River domain. He cruelly made a human skin mask and mixed into the iron guards of the commander's office. Then, he followed the other iron guards to transport resources. After a few teleportations, he arrived at the entrance of the Nether Realm. After arriving at the campsite of the Nether Realm, Ji Yuhao was very cautious. He suppressed his time attribute aura and didn't dare to leak it. Most of the higher-ups of the nine-domain world were in secluded cultivation. There weren't many people who knew Ji Yuhao. While chatting with the other iron guards, Ji Yuhao learned that the nine-domain world relied on the Great Formation to resist the enemy's attack. He had a plan in his mind. Ji Yuhao was the same as the others. He cultivated normally. However, he paid attention to the formation and knew who set it up. In the following days, Ji Yuhao came in contact with a formation master and humbly communicated with him. At this time, the people of the nine-domain world and the profound mysteries realm were united. No one thought about the traitor. A few days later, Ji Yuhao and the formation master entered the formation space to inspect. This was the opportunity Ji Yuhao wanted. When this magic formation master went to report to He Shang, Ji Yuhao, who accompanied him, made his move. He swung his sword towards He Shang's head. He wanted to kill He Shang, then take the formation map to the netherworld. When Ji Yuhao made his move, Jun Xuanji had already noticed it. He immediately showed up beside He Shang and pushed him away with his energy. Then, he wielded his long sword and sent out sword qi towards Ji Yuhao. Jun Xuanji moved fast, but he was still a bit slow. He managed to push He Shang away, but Ji Yuhao's sword power still cut off He Shang's left arm. Ji Yuhao's body flashed across the air as he grabbed He Shang's broken arm and rushed out of the formation. Jun Xuanji and He Shang were watching the netherworld from the edge of the formation. Therefore, Ji Yuhao seized the opportunity. Array diagram. Array diagram. He Shang shouted at Jun Xuanji, ignoring his bleeding arm. When Jun Xuanji chased after Ji Yuhao and cast the four extremes combined attack to trap him, Ji Yuhao shouted, "Seniors from the netherworld, save me. I have a formation map." At that moment, Nine Dark King appeared and sent a palm strike towards Jun Xuanji. Jun Xuanji's expression changed, and he retreated into the formation. Then, he pulled the four extremes combined attack towards the center of the formation. Nine Dark King waved his arm and shattered the space of the four extremes combined attack, then pulled Ji Yuhao to his side. At that moment, Long Xianqing arrived. "What's going on? Hurry up and tell Night Sorrow to come back. Something big has happened. Protector He Shang's storage ring has been taken by a traitor. The formation map is inside." Jun Xuanji's expression was very unsightly. Tai Shu Yan directly crushed Night Sorrow's messaging crystal. This matter was too serious. Trash from the Nine Regions world, do you still remember me, Ji Yuhao?" Ji Yuhao took off his mask. "You must die." Tai Shu Yan shouted. "I hate traitors. If you have no value, they won't have to kill you. I will kill you myself." Nine Dark King looked at Ji Yuhao and said. "The formation map is in this storage ring," said Ji Yuhao while holding He Shang's severed arm. "Let's go back," Long Xianqing said in a low voice and returned to the formation. In the command tent, Tai Shu Yan helped He Shang bandage his severed arm. "Grand Elders, this is my responsibility. I didn't think there would be a traitor, and I didn't take precautions. I, Jun Xuanji, am willing to accept the punishment. Jun Xuanji bowed. This matter isn't your fault, and it's not the time to find out who is responsible. Now is the time to solve this crisis, said Xie Jun. If they break the formation, then not only will we lose our advantage, we'll also be in a passive position. So, how to save the situation is the most urgent matter, said Xian Wenxiu. If the formation is broken, then we'll definitely lose our advantage. However, we won't be in a passive position because the commander still has a backup plan. I can't understand that formation, so they won't be able to break it. Jun Xuanji said that Night Sorrow had set up a formation in Supreme River space. Fortunately, the situation isn't too bad. Master He Shang, can they break the formation with your formation map? Xie Jun asked He Shang. They need the cultivation of a formation grandmaster to understand a little of the formation map. With the formation map in their hands, it'll be a hidden danger. However, there won't be any problems for a few days. Let the commander come back and solve it. He Shang's face was pale. I've already informed the commander, said Tai Shu Yan. Night Sorrow, who was cultivating, opened his eyes. He had almost mastered the law of desolates. Now, he just needed to familiarize himself with it. The breaking of the communication crystal made him a little anxious. When he stood up, Night Sorrow's robes turned to dust. Night Sorrow knew that he had been meditating for at least a year and a half. As for how much time had passed in the outside world, he really didn't know. Yi Shang used the Desolate's attribute to protect his body. After putting on his robe, his body flashed and left the Great Desolation Pool. Then he went to the transmission array and activated it. Yi Shang began to teleport. After a series of teleportations, Night Sorrow returned to the entrance of the spatial tunnel and went directly to the command tent. Who did it? Seeing He Shang missing an arm, Night Sorrow's eyes flashed and he looked at Jun Xuanji. Don't glare at me. Although I'm at fault, it wasn't me, said Jun Xuanji. Then, Tai Shu Yan explained the cause and process of the matter. Protector He Shang, I'm sorry. This was caused by me. Ji Yuhao hates me. Night Sorrow bowed to He Shang. Young master, this is not your fault. We are now united and did not suspect the insiders. He Shang helped Night Sorrow up with one hand. Protector He Shang, I, Night Sorrow, swear to get justice for you. Night Sorrow looked at He Shang and said. This subordinate understands. He Shang nodded. Everything else is a pirated version. Marshal Uncle Tai, go and make the arrangements. Other than the commander's residence members and the array masters, everyone else will retreat to the Supreme River space. Let's camp 30 li away from the spatial tunnel. Ji Yuhao wanted to play with me, right? I want to see how he will play with me. Night Sorrow said coldly. Can you turn the situation around? Jun Xuanji looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Isn't that obvious? Night Sorrow glanced at Jun Xuanji. Baidu, Myriad Daos become Expressions book and read it for free. Chapter 874. Jun Xuanji didn't care about Night Sorrow's reprimand and asked, can you really turn the tables around? He searched for rotten book handle and read new chapters. Of course. I won't make a single mistake that will cost me everything. Now, do as I say, said Night Sorrow. That's good. Otherwise, I'd be a sinner if I ended up in a passive position because of my negligence. Jun Xuanji breathed a sigh of relief. Jun Xuanji was a strong person. He had lost to the 9 regions world and Night Sorrow, but the Profound Mysteries realm's outcome was still very good. Now, he wanted to prove his worth. He didn't want to ruin the situation because of his negligence. He didn't want Night Sorrow to vent his anger on the Profound Mysteries realm because of this. Taishiyan and the others arranged for the two regions' forces to be stationed in the Supreme River space about 15 kilometers away from the spatial channel. Apart from the commander's residence's members and saints, there were only formation masters in the command tent. Protector He Shang, this is all my fault. Night Sorrow looked at He Shang apologetically. Young Tower Master, it's fine. As long as I don't fall, I'll continue to fight, said He Shang. Night Sorrow nodded. He first went to activate the 1000 derivation killing formation. Next, he went to the edge of the Heavenly Cycle formation to take a look before returning to the command tent. Formation Masters, go and monitor the formation. When their forces enter the formation, just return with me, said Night Sorrow. What's the point of informing you? Aren't we still going to retreat? Asked Jun Xuanji. It's very useful. While you were setting up the formation, I wasn't idle either. I also set up a composite formation. As long as you casually insert spirit stones into the formation, the 1000 derivation illusory formation I set up will be fully activated. Who knows who will be the unlucky one, said Night Sorrow. The illusory formations you set up are composite formations. Jun Xuanji looked at Night Sorrow in astonishment. I don't mind telling you that I'm also a formation grandmaster, said Night Sorrow as he brewed tea. The commander-in-chief has returned. Suppressing all sides, I feel at ease, Xie Jun said with a smile. Let them try to break the formation. Whoever comes in will die. I told my people to back out because I don't want any spies from Ji-Yu's family to be in there. Besides, even if some spies manage to break in, they won't be able to escape from either side. Night Sorrow said while pouring tea for everyone. Indeed. Originally, when our Profound Mysteries realm lost, I thought that it was due to luck. But now, it seems that it's not the case. Lord Commander, you are the mastermind. No matter how we fight, we will lose, Shang Luo said. Night Sorrow is deeply sorry for the damage I've caused to the Profound Mysteries realm. After this war ends, I will go to the Profound Mysteries royal city to pay my respects to the living beings who died in battle. I will also offer my apologies to all the living beings in the Profound Mysteries realm. Night Sorrow stood up and bowed to Xian Wenxiu and Shang Luo. At this moment, the members of the Profound Mysteries realm cupped their fists towards Night Sorrow in return. There's no need for that. We know that there's no right or wrong in war. We're already grateful that you're treating the Profound Mysteries realm well, Xian Wenxiu said. Protector He Shang, go treat your injuries, said Xie Jun. Everyone felt helpless about He Shang's severed arm. Saints could regrow severed limbs, but sovereigns couldn't. He Shang's severed arm had been taken away, and he had lost the chance to reattach it. Commander, when are you going to break through to the Saint realm? Asked the Flying Tiger Saint. Anytime. I just want to stabilize my foundation. Right now, my main research direction is the cultivation of my body. This time, I went out to find an opportunity for my body to break through, said Night Sorrow. How is it? Asked Long Xianxing. It's fine. The main thing is that I don't want my true qi and body to advance due to a type of law. Now that I've found an opportunity, I'll try to break through later, said Night Sorrow. You'll be the youngest saint in the history of the 9 regions world. There hasn't even been a sovereign in his 20s, said Long Xianxing excitedly. It's just that my luck is a bit better, said Night Sorrow with a smile. Night Sorrow, you've walked step by step. I've seen how much you've sacrificed. I know how hard you've worked. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow. After chatting for a while, everyone went to rest and cultivate. Wu Lingfei and Night Sorrow went to Night Sorrow's tent. Aunt Fei, it's been hard on everyone while I wasn't here. Night Sorrow took out a jug of wine and handed it to Wu Lingfei. It's nothing. You've arranged everything, and we're just following your plan. Even so, this mess still happened. It seems we really can't do without you here. The others can fight, but they're not as good as you when it comes to managing the situation, said Wu Lingfei as she took a sip of wine. Let's stabilize for a few days and see how things go. If it's still like this, we'll give him a heavy blow. I can't let Ji Yuhao have a good time, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, you've changed. You've matured, and you're smiling more. This is what I want to see. No matter what happens, you can face it with a smile, said Wu Lingfei. She knew that the Night Sorrow in front of her was no longer the child who had risked his life with her in Eastern Snow Mountain. He was now the commander in charge of 2 regions. After chatting with Wu Lingfei for a while, Night Sorrow brought his parents out of the space-time pagoda and began to meditate. He continued to analyze and comprehend the laws of desolation. Although he wasn't in the Great Wasteland Pool, he still had some insights. After cultivating for 4 or 5 days, there was still no movement from the Netherworld realm. Night Sorrow planned to add fuel to the fire. After having Tai Shu Yen inform everyone to gather in the command tent, Night Sorrow once more patrolled the formation. Seeing that the Netherworld realm still hadn't begun to break the formation, he returned to the main seat in the tent and sat down. A while ago, I mentioned that the Battle of Harassment and the Battle of Resources can still be carried out. Seniors Long Xianqing and Xian Xing will each lead a team. I don't want too many people, just 4 or 5 elites. Grandfather, father, you 2 will each lead a team, said Night Sorrow. So it's killing people, setting fires, and then plundering resources. That's it, said Xian Wenxiu as he looked at Night Sorrow. Haha, that's it. But I still need to talk about the things you need to pay attention to. This kind of battle requires you to be mobile. In other words, you can't let people surround you. If you want to control the situation well, you need to control the transportation formation well. Night Sorrow laughed and explained in detail how he had fought such battles in the past. Cut off the enemy's call for reinforcements, insert the transportation crystal, and be able to teleport at will. This method is good. Xian Wenqiu nodded. Senior Shangxing and Senior Heavenly Underworld Xing, stay here and pay attention to the situation outside the formation. If the Netherworld King dares to leave, then the 2 of you will lead the other saints to kill. Remember to destroy the transportation formation first, so that the Netherworld King won't be able to come back in time. Night Sorrow then arranged his second plan. Everyone nodded. Yishang's plan was well thought out and had no loopholes at all. Then, Night Sorrow asked Tai Shu Yen to allocate resources for everyone. Then, Long Xianqing and Xian Wenqiu each chose 3 or 4 people, respectively leading Yi Wuyo and Yi Linghuan to leave the spatial passage through the transportation formation. Baidu, 10,000 Dao into Expression Book to read for free. Chapter 875. Alright, Uncle Master, if you need anything, just crush my messaging crystal. Yishan took out a messaging crystal and tossed it to Tai Shu Yen. Search for Orchid Book Handle. What are you going to do now? What's the situation now? Jun Xuanji asked when he saw that Night Sorrow was about to leave again. I want to cultivate. Night Sorrow got up and walked towards his tent. Elder Jun, please understand. When we were fighting against the Profound Mysteries realm, he didn't want to be a commander. He was forced to do so by a group of seniors. He's essentially a cultivation maniac. Otherwise, he would have attacked the Sage realm in his 20s, Tai Shu Yen said. This is an era that belongs to people like him. If it was peacetime, he might be an expert of a generation, Jun Xuanji said. After entering the tent, Night Sorrow saw Yu Qing. Mother, we had no choice but to arrange a mission for father. Only father and grandfather are following us. Even if something happens, a small team will be able to come back alive, Night Sorrow explained to his mother. Mother understands. Mother wants to tell you that she plans to go back to the city in the sky to see your sister, Yuqing said. That's what you should do. Mother, bring my sister and old man Gu to Night Moon Dynasty's camp and let my sister and great-aunt stay together. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow had been thinking about this matter. He didn't want something like old man Gu to happen again. Alright, mother will leave first. Send me through the formation, Yuqing said to Night Sorrow. Yes, Night Sorrow nodded, then sent Yuqing out of the 1000 derivation killing formation and out of the portal of the Medicine Valley. Only then did he return to the portal. Night Sorrow found Tai Shu Yen and ordered the secret agents of the Commander-in-Chief's mansion to move out. They had to find out where Yuqing's family was hiding. Lord K has already arranged for people from Tianji Tower to investigate this matter. The results will be out soon. Because our Tianjin Tower has been developing for countless years, our intelligence system is very developed. We have people in GU's family. It's just that the news hasn't spread yet, said Tai Shuyan. This GU family is too despicable, we have to uproot them, said Night Sorrow. He didn't want GU family to cause any more trouble. Tai Shu Yen nodded. She also hated GU's family very much. They were too shameless and would do anything, even betraying the 9 regions. What else could they not do? After exchanging a few words with Tai Shu Yen and Jun Xuanji, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. After entering the tent, Night Sorrow flashed into the space-time pagoda and went to the 60th floor. Xueshi was also on the 60th floor, together with Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi. The 4 of them were getting along very well. Has the matter been taken care of? Sikong Chuyu asked as he made tea. It has been taken care of. Night Sorrow nodded. He hadn't closed off his soul power, so Xueshi knew what was going on outside. At the same time, she also told Sikong Chuyu and the other 2. Ji Yuhao, that bastard, has been caught. It wouldn't be too much to cut him into pieces, Aoi said hatefully. Chuyu, you should rejoice. Rejoice that our 13 has appeared. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a man, Yang Lei said. 9th senior sister, let's not talk about that disgusting thing. He can't do anything in front of Night Sorrow, Sikong Chuyu said. After that, Night Sorrow told the girls that he planned to enter seclusion to break through to the sage stage. Is it dangerous? Sikong Chuyu looked at Xueshi and asked. It's not dangerous. Night Sorrow's soul power has condensed into a divine bead, and he has also mastered the power of law. Advancing is not a problem, Xueshi said. But it will take some time, Night Sorrow said. Knowing that there was no danger, Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 were relieved. What they cared about was Night Sorrow's safety. Night Sorrow then entered the 70th floor of the space-time pagoda and drank a few mouthfuls of wine. Then, he sat down cross-legged and began cultivating. If a sage wanted to enter the sage stage, he had to fuse the power of law, soul power, and true energy. Then, he had to compress them into a Dan bead, filling the Dan bead with the power of law. That way, his true energy could erupt at any time with the might of the power of law. Night Sorrow slowly fused his soul power, power of law, and true energy, allowing this special energy to flow through his veins. After stabilizing himself, Night Sorrow started to compress the liquid true qi into the elixir bead. This was a slow process. It was very difficult to compress the liquid true energy into the Dan bead. Yi Shang was not in a hurry. This was a milestone in the process of cultivation. Once he crossed it, his path would be smooth, and he would become a saint that everyone had to respect. Time passed little by little. The true energy in Night Sorrow's Dantian was getting less and less. The size of the Dan bead was getting bigger and bigger. 2 days, 3 days. On the 4th day, there were only 2 faint wisps of true energy left in Night Sorrow's dantian. The purple dan bead, which was twice as big as before, was slowly rotating in his dantian. After controlling the last 2 wisps of true energy to enter the dan bead, Night Sorrow's dan bead shook and began to rotate rapidly. Then, true energy with threads and stripes emerged from the dan bead. This was true energy with the power of law. Sage. The true energy contained the power of law. This was the sign of a sage. At this time, Night Sorrow was already a 7th level cultivator, a sage. It's a success. Night Sorrow has entered the sage stage, Xueshi, who was connected to Night Sorrow's soul, excitedly told Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 girls. This is a big celebration. A sage. A few years ago, our Medicine Valley was still having a headache over the emergence of a sage. Now, a sage has appeared in front of us. Yang Lei was very excited. Yes, the world is changing. There are some things that we can't even dream of in the past. Aoi also had a deep feeling. As Night Sorrow entered the sage stage, the clone in the Heaven Sealing Hall also reached this level. The 9 regions origin shield shone brightly and was much more powerful than before. There were also changes in the Medicine Valley. The 8-dragon cauldron above Danding Cliff spun rapidly. The multicolored light rippled in all directions. Then, there was the sound of bells and drums. The melodious sound echoed in the Medicine Valley. This made everyone in the Medicine Valley come to the foot of Danding Cliff. They didn't understand why such a situation would happen. At this time, Danding Cliff was full of multicolored light. The melodious drum sounded 12 times before it stopped. The multicolored light fell on the statue of Night Sorrow, which was 3,000 meters away from Danding Cliff. Such a phenomenon of heaven and earth made everyone confused. They didn't know what was going on. Something big happened in the Medicine Valley. No matter how big it was, the bells and drums only sounded 9 times at the same time. Everyone also knew that the 8-dragon cauldron, as a treasure with a weapon spirit, would not act recklessly or make a long sound randomly. Yu Yangyu stood on the viewing peak opposite Danding Cliff and bowed to the 8-dragon cauldron. Senior, can you tell me what happened? There's no harm in telling you. My holy treasure is Night Sorrow. Congratulations on becoming a sage, Night Sorrow. Congratulations. The 8-dragon cauldron's voice sounded on Danding Cliff. In the past 2 days, my work and rest schedule have been really unstable. Yesterday, I was busy all day and was half-dead tired. When I came back to sleep, I got up at 11:00 in the middle of the night to write. I wrote until 6 o'clock in the morning and had to sleep until the afternoon. I got up at 3:00 in the afternoon to revise and update my manuscript. I'm also a talent. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the brothers and sisters who unlocked the seal yesterday. Baidu the Book of Myriad Tao into expressions, and read it for free. Chapter 876. Congratulations to Night Sorrow for becoming a saint. When the 8-dragon cauldron's voice came out, the tens of thousands of people around Pill Tripod Cliff suddenly quieted down. This news was too shocking, so everyone's emotions stopped. They searched for Lazy Book Bar and read new chapters. After calming down, Yu Yangyu asked again, Senior, are you saying that Night Sorrow, the Deputy Valley Master of the Medicine Valley, has broken through the Venerable Realm and entered the Saint Realm and become a saint? Yes, he has just broken through and become a saint. Well, let's disperse. The 8-dragon cauldron withdrew the light, and Pill Tripod Cliff returned to normal. The disciples of the Medicine Valley had dispersed, but the sensation it caused was still there. Those who had a good relationship with each other were discussing this matter together. Some disciples with family forces also went to inform their families. A powerful venerable could change the structure and status of the major sects in the Eastern Profound Domain, let alone a saint. The news quickly spread. In the Pill Tripod Hall, the high-level members of the Medicine Valley were all present. A saint, a 7th-level saint. Our Medicine Valley has a 7th-level saint. The first elder laughed. That's right. Now, who can look down on our Medicine Valley? Who dares to annex our Medicine Valley? Hua Yunping was also very excited. How long has it been since Deputy Valley Master Knight Sorrow entered the sect? 7 or 8 years. In less than 10 years, he has entered the 7th-level saint from no cultivation. This is a miracle in the history of cultivation, and a miracle in our Medicine Valley, Yi Xiling said. So handsome, Gong Xian said happily. As the Commander-in-Chief of the Commander-in-Chief of the 2 Commander-in-Chief's manors, he has prestige and benevolence. After entering the Saint realm, Knight Sorrow's personal strength has also reached the peak. Our Medicine Valley really has to thank our ancestors, Yu Yangyu said. Valley Master, you have recruited a good disciple, the first elder looked at Yu Yangyu and said. At that time, he was still young and didn't show his talent. If they knew his achievements today, who could and who would dare to accept him as a disciple? I'm ashamed to say this, Yu Yangyu said with a bitter smile. Now that the 9 regions world and the profound world are fighting in the Supreme Plane and Nether Realm, our Medicine Valley is not even qualified to contribute. And Knight Sorrow is the Commander-in-Chief. You can't say that. Didn't Elder Yang Lei and Elder Qing Ji go with them? Guan Yi and Qin Zhen are there too. Musher Zhuang and the other 2 are doing well in the Deicide squad. The future of the Medicine Valley belongs to the young people, Yen Beiji said. At this moment, tribulation clouds appeared at the entrance of the Netherworld realm, causing everyone to feel oppressed. Everyone in the Nether realm left the camp. Tribulation clouds. Someone has become a saint, Nine Hades said as he looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky. In the 9 regions world's camp, everyone looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky. In the 9 regions world's camp, Tai Shu Yan looked at Heavenly Underworld Saint and asked, could it be that the Commander-in-Chief has become a saint? What is he doing in the Pagoda of Time? Heavenly Underworld Saint said, the tribulation lightning cannot be avoided. It will fall soon and attack Knight Sorrow's holy treasure as well. Little Kong contacted Knight Sorrow and told him about the tribulation lightning that had appeared in Knight Sorrow's tribulation lightning. Knight Sorrow, who had stabilized his cultivation, came out of the Pagoda of Time and Space. Then, he sent everyone out of the Pagoda of Time and Space. He could not let the tribulation lightning destroy the formation. After Knight Sorrow passed through the spatial tunnel, the tribulation clouds disappeared from the netherworld. The tribulation clouds appeared directly in the Supreme River space. Heavenly Underworld Saint and the others followed behind Knight Sorrow and crossed the array formation. Knight Sorrow's tribulation was such a big matter, they all wanted to see it. In any case, with the array formation's defense, the people of Netherrealm couldn't break in. After Knight Sorrow crossed the 1000 amplification killing array, the tribulation clouds pressed down very low. The Heavenly Underworld Saint and the others did not follow, they all watched from afar. After steadying himself, Knight Sorrow pulled out his right hand and grabbed the reincarnation spear. If one had heaven-defying achievements, they would have to accept the test of the Heavenly Tao. This was not the Heavenly Tao of the 9 domains world, nor was it the Heavenly Tao of the Supreme River dimension. This was the Heavenly Tao of the Greater 1000 Worlds. Just as Knight Sorrow was ready, the tribulation clouds rolled and thunder boomed. A purplish-black lightning bolt, as thick as a human head, struck towards Knight Sorrow. The lightning bolt was filled with electric snakes, it was the law of lightning. Knight Sorrow's body shook and a crescent blade shot out from his back. A spatial crack appeared in the path of the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt directly passed through the spatial storm in the spatial crack and continued to fall. One spatial crack didn't have much of an effect, so Night Sorrow continued to cast spatial cracks, creating 3 spatial cracks in a row. These 3 spatial cracks consumed half of the purplish-black lightning bolt's power. Then, Night Sorrow's soul power, along with the law of lightning, enveloped the direction where the lightning bolt was falling. At a speed visible to the naked eye, this tyrannical lightning bolt was slowly dissipated. When it reached Night Sorrow, it disappeared. Powerful. He destroyed the first lightning bolt without using his true chi. Shang Luo said in surprise. I wonder how many lightning bolts there are. Wu Lingfei was a little worried. She knew that when Night Sorrow entered the sovereign realm, he had to face 3 lightning bolts. Don't worry. I believe that he can safely pass through it. Heavenly Underworld Saint said. At this moment, the second lightning bolt fell. Night Sorrow used spatial cracks again, but only twice. He could now use spatial cracks 6 to 7 times, but sometimes he still had to hold back. This time, Night Sorrow swung the spacetime pagoda and smashed it against the lightning bolt. With a loud explosion, the lightning bolt was offset. The spacetime pagoda spun and fell into Night Sorrow's hand. Looking at the spacetime pagoda, Night Sorrow was shocked. After entering the Saint Realm, he could completely control the spacetime pagoda. Its power was much stronger than before. He passed through 2 lightning bolts just like that. Powerful. I have to admire him. Jun Xuanji said. After Night Sorrow survived the second bolt of tribulation lightning, the third bolt of tribulation lightning descended. At this moment, Night Sorrow's body flashed and soared into the sky. He began to attack the lightning bolt with his spear. At this moment, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear was filled with the power of the Void Law. As Night Sorrow attacked quickly, the third lightning bolt went from thick to thin to nothing. After landing on the ground, Night Sorrow continued to look at the sky. He didn't know how many lightning bolts there were, but he wasn't afraid. Following this, the fourth lightning bolt fell. At this moment, Night Sorrow did something that shocked everyone. He stabbed his reincarnation spear to the side and raised his hands. He punched the fourth lightning bolt. Every punch contained the image of the passage of time. Night Sorrow punched more than 20 times consecutively. As he punched, he retreated 30 steps. After 30 punches, Night Sorrow dispersed the fourth lightning bolt. After repelling the fourth lightning bolt, Night Sorrow returned to his original position and continued to look at the sky. At this moment, the tribulation clouds had no intention of dispersing. They were still rolling and brewing. What's going on? For lightning bolts, and the tribulation clouds haven't dispersed yet. They're still going to attack, Xiao Longjun said in surprise. This also shows how heaven-defying and powerful the commander is, Shang Luo said. Please give me a tip. The ranking list is almost gone. Please give me essential oil. Please give me an excavator. I'm full of energy after waking up today. Search the basket to read the rest of the chapters. Chapter 877. At this time, another explosion rang out. A bolt of lightning even more ferocious than the previous 4 bolts fell. The tribulation clouds also scattered. That meant this was the last bolt of tribulation lightning. Come. Night Sorrow made a decision that shocked everyone. He took off his robes and hung them on his reincarnation spear. Then energy began to circulate around his body. What's he trying to do? Xiao Longjun looked at Wu Lingfei. He's trying to use lightning to strengthen his body. Wu Lingfei narrowed her eyes at Night Sorrow. She knew that Night Sorrow knew this was the last bolt of tribulation lightning, so he wasn't afraid. He was going to accept the baptism of lightning. At this time, the 5th bolt of lightning fell on Night Sorrow's body. The phenomenon of time flowing appeared on Night Sorrow's body. After a moment of deadlock, his protective energy was shattered. The lightning directly struck Night Sorrow's body. At this time, Night Sorrow was bathed in purplish-black lightning. While the lightning was destroying Night Sorrow's body, it was also destroying the impurities within Night Sorrow's body. Night Sorrow's body was already half transformed into energy. The lightning had damaged some of his body structure, but the energy was quickly repaired. This was a cycle of consumption. To the lightning, it was a consumption. To Night Sorrow, it was also a consumption. But right now, the myriad Tao Tome's energy was at its peak, so he wasn't afraid of consumption. Furthermore, this was also a process of strengthening his body. If he could endure it, he would gain some benefits. Night Sorrow didn't feel anything as he stood within the lightning. But in the eyes of others, his figure was imposing and domineering. That was because no one would dare to do such a thing. After a quarter of an hour, this bolt of lightning dissipated. The myriad Tao Tome's energy within Night Sorrow's body had been used up. Yishang's body shook as he roared at the sky. His hair, which was covered in purple flames, stood on end. After putting on his robes, Night Sorrow sat down and began to cultivate. After breaking through, he had to endure the tribulation lightning. His cultivation base hadn't completely stabilized yet. This was also why he didn't use much true qi to endure the tribulation lightning. While Night Sorrow was meditating, 5-colored light appeared where the tribulation clouds had originally been. Within the light, there was also a golden light that made people feel respect. Virtuous merit energy. Virtuous merit energy. Heavenly Underworld Saint looked at the light and golden light in surprise. The multicolored light and the golden light landed on Yishang's body. Then, Yishang's energy wrapped around them and pulled them into his body. Withstanding the Thunder God's punishment with his body, how domineering. A saint in his 20s, that's a legend. Withstanding the Thunder God's punishment, that's a legend among legends, Saint Tian Hades sighed. That's great. Now that the commander has become a saint, the morale of our army will be greatly boosted, Xie Lanjun said. After sitting cross-legged and cultivating for 2 days, Yishang finally stopped and stood up. Seeing that Night Sorrow was done, the higher-ups of the 2 worlds who were waiting by the side cupped their hands and congratulated him. Night Sorrow smiled and said, "Thank you, everyone, for guarding me. I'm fine now. Marshal Uncle, I don't have any wine here. Get someone to get some. We'll hold a banquet tonight to celebrate." "No problem, Commander, don't worry. I'll arrange it," Tai Shu Yen said. After that, Night Sorrow followed the group of people into the formation. Without Night Sorrow leading the way, no one would be able to pass through the 1000 amplification killing formation. After arriving at his tent, Night Sorrow sat down. Aoi smiled and handed Night Sorrow a jar of wine. "Sixth senior sister, do you have more?" Night Sorrow asked with a smile. Aoi smiled and said, "There's more. Don't worry, sixth senior sister can provide you with wine. There's a lot in the cellar of our mansion in Sky City." "That's great. I'm really not used to drinking other kinds of wine," Night Sorrow said with a smile. "You've entered the sage realm and become a saint. We have to work hard too," Sikong Chuyu said. "You don't have to rush. Take your time." Night Sorrow shook his head. He didn't want the girls to feel pressured. In the evening, Night Sorrow participated in the banquet. At the same time, he asked about the situation. After knowing that the Nine Dark King was still outside the formation, he felt more at ease. Since the Nine Dark King was still outside the formation, the people from the 9 Domain world and Profound Mysteries world couldn't attack. At the same time, it also meant that the 2 groups led by Long Xianqing and Xian Wenxiu were safe. Night Sorrow asked about the strength of the peak saints on both sides. Long Xianqing and the Nine Dark King were on par. Xian Wenqiu was slightly weaker. The Nine Dark King could suppress him, but he couldn't injure or defeat him. On the other hand, Xian Wenqiu could suppress the Seven Fiends King. The Seven Fiends King and the Six Soul King were slightly stronger than the Heavenly Underworld Saint and Shang Luo. The weakest was the Five Puppet King. In other words, as long as the Nine Dark King didn't return, Long Xianqing and Xian Wenqiu's groups were absolutely safe. After finishing the banquet, Knight Sorrow greeted Tai Shu Yan and the other saints. Then, he went to the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to stabilize his cultivation. At the same time, he continued to comprehend the Desolation Law. As he had just entered the Sage Realm, Knight Sorrow's cultivation wasn't stable yet. In addition, the five-colored light that entered his body could increase his overall strength. It was of great help to his true qi, soul power, myriad Dao tome, and physical strength. While Knight Sorrow was stabilizing his cultivation, the people from the Nine-Domain world and Profound Mysteries world were also steadily increasing their strength. Everything had been going smoothly recently. Even if there was a traitor, Knight Sorrow wouldn't be able to do anything. In the Nether Realms camp, the Nine Dark King was studying the formation every day. The level of the Nether Realms formation masters was very low. She could only study it by herself. As she studied the formation diagrams, her formation skills also increased sharply. This was the advantage of having a strong soul power and talent. Ji Yuhao's current treatment wasn't bad. He had his own tent and was treated with good wine and meat. However, his freedom was restricted. The Nine Dark King didn't completely trust him. A few days later, the Seven Fiend King and the Five Puppet King brought the Nether Realms army and experts to the spatial tunnel. They also brought news that the Nether Realm was in chaos. The plan is very comprehensive. The attack will be carried out step by step. The Nine Dark King was wearing golden armor, but he didn't wear a helmet. Among his golden hair, two curved horns were emitting a shocking aura. Nine Dark King, what should we do now? Many cities are being attacked. They are killing people, setting fires, and robbing resources. King Wugong asked. Once we leave here to intercept their troops, they will definitely rush out and attack us. The Nine Dark King thought for a moment and figured out the stakes. And the other three Dark Kings nodded. They knew that the Nine Dark King's analysis was correct. Seven Fiend King, you will bring the Six Soul King and the Five Puppet King to control this matter. After gathering all the high-level warriors here, arrange for communication crystals to be used between the cities. Close all the teleportation formations except for the Imperial City. This way, if we discover their tracks, it will be difficult for them to run away. After restricting their range of activity, inform this king. The Nine Dark King thought for a while and came up with a countermeasure. Search the basket to read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 878. Seven Fiends King accepted the order and left the command tent with Six Soul King and Five Puppet King. He searched for Lazy Book Bar and read the latest chapter. Nine King continued to study the formation. The two teams led by Long Xianqing and Xian Wenqiu were very effective. They had conquered many cities and earned a lot of spirit stones, materials, and pills. However, when all the teleportation formations in the cities were closed, it would be difficult for them to carry out their raids. After discussing with Yi Wuyo and the rest, Long Xianqing decided to change their strategy. They would not attack the cities consecutively, but they would attack from one place to another. Shang Luo and Yi Linghuan also made the same decision. Although the efficiency would be greatly reduced, the battle could still be carried out. Such a situation gave Seven Fiends King a headache. There was no way to confirm the whereabouts of the two teams. Seven Fiends King had no choice but to seek an audience with Nine King. Nine King pondered for a moment and made a decision. He would hide all the teleportation formations in the cities and not allow ordinary people to use them. Only the 9 King had the rights to use them. In other words, they would only be used as strategic teleportation formations. With such a strategy, 7 Fiends King led 6 Soul King and 5 Puppet King to capture Long Xianqing and the rest. When Long Xianqing and the rest thought that there was no teleportation formation, the other party used a teleportation formation to support them. Long Xianqing could suppress 7 Fiends King and even kill him if he had the time. However, 6 Soul King and 5 Puppet King were still around. If they fought head-on, the rest would be in danger. After that, Yi Wuyo tore the space apart. Long Xianqing used the chaotic space to suppress 7 Fiends King and the rest. When Yi Wuyo and the rest entered the chaotic space, he followed them. Yi Wuyo and the rest traversed through the chaotic space. There was a limit to the distance, but Long Xianqing was strong. With the chaotic space to control the damage caused by the chaotic space, the few of them traversed a few thousand miles and got rid of 7 Fiends King and the other 2. We can't fight anymore. They have some preventive measures now. Let's go back and ask Knight Sorrow for his opinion. Long Xianqing said. Yi Wuyo and the others also nodded. They didn't have the strength to fight against the 3 underworld kings, so they could only go back and ask Knight Sorrow how to deal with this. When they flew back to the teleportation array, they met the team led by Xian Wenxiu. Both teams had encountered the same situation. Xian Wenxiu had a defensive high-level sacred treasure, so his team was not injured. Then, the 2 teams were teleported to the entrance of the spatial passage. After learning about the situation, Tai Shu Yan went to Knight Sorrow's tent. Knowing that Knight Sorrow was cultivating, she wanted to crush the messaging crystal, but Xuexi stopped her. She could contact Knight Sorrow. Xuexi shook the god pearl and Knight Sorrow woke up from his meditation. He then came to the tent. After listening to Tai Shu Yan explain the situation, Knight Sorrow went to the command tent. Seeing that Knight Sorrow had become a saint, Long Xianqing and Xian Wenxiu congratulated him and told him about the situation. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and said, "Their reaction is very fast, but 2 seniors, we can't stop the battle just like that. We have to take advantage of them." Long Xianqing asked, "Well, we can still take advantage of them." "Of course." This time, 2 seniors, Heavenly Underworld Saint and Shang Saint, will also fight. They will follow Senior Long Xianqing secretly. Senior Xian Saint's team will appear and fight. If the 3 Underworld Kings dare to chase after them, well, I don't need to say more. Knight Sorrow said. "Great, this plan is really great." Xian Wenxiu admired Knight Sorrow's plan. Not only him, everyone admired it. This plan must be carried out quickly. If we are slow, they will wake up and realize it. I can only trouble you seniors. In addition, grandfather, father, you have to follow. Senior Long Xianqing left the messaging crystal. Once 9 Underworld King leaves, we will crush the crystal and everyone will stop and come back. Knight Sorrow continued to talk about the details of the plan. The plan is perfect. Let's do it. Long Xianqing said. If it goes well, we can take advantage of 1 or 2 underworld kings. Remember, you only have to fight once. No matter the result, you have to come back because you only have 1 chance to take advantage of them. Knight Sorrow reminded everyone. Soon after, Long Xianqing and the others took the teleportation array and left. Jun Xuanji also followed because she had the 4 extreme kill and could control the other party to escape. After sending off the group of saints, Tai Shu Yan looked at Knight Sorrow and said, "Commander, let's not talk about your combat strength. Your brain is also so flexible. Martial Uncle really can't understand." Knight Sorrow said with a smile, "Actually, it's just a suitable arrangement. Fortunately, the effect is not bad. It's not just not bad. It's simply a perfect battle strategy. Taishu Yen shook her head. She admired Night Sorrow from the bottom of her heart. When she first met Night Sorrow was still very young. Night Sorrow then returned to his own tent to cultivate. He didn't follow because he wouldn't be of much use in a battle between peak saints. It was better for him to cultivate quietly. Taishu Yen brought people to observe the situation of the other party in the teleportation array. Their main purpose was to check if the 9 Underworld King was here. If he wasn't, they would have to inform Long Xianxing and the others. Although Night Sorrow was worried, he was still able to calm down. Every day, apart from cultivating, he would walk around the camp inside the spatial channel and watch the members of the god-slaying team cultivate. When he arrived at the camp again, Night Sorrow received a message from the people guarding the spatial channel that his mother had returned. He rushed to the channel between the Medicine Valley and the Supreme River space and brought his mother, Yin Yanxiao, and Papa Gu over. Yin Yanxiao and Papa Gu were both people that Night Sorrow cared about. He told Yilingxia to take care of them and not let anyone other than Night Moon come into contact with them. This arrangement was because Night Sorrow was worried that there were spies from the Ji clan in the camp. Ji Yuhao was in the Nether Realm, but there was another person in the Ji clan, Ji Haitian. According to the information that Night Sorrow had received, Ji Haitian had disappeared after he lost the fight with Ji Fenglan for control of the Ji clan. He was a member of the Ji clan, and he had no bottom line. Night Sorrow had to guard against him. As time passed, Night Sorrow's cultivation base became more and more stable. In addition, Night Sorrow could sense the changes in the void fiendish space. The empty fiendish space and the emptiness fate pearl continued to merge. The area and space were both shrinking. When they were all merged into the emptiness fate pearl was a spatial world that was under Yi Shang's control. Night Sorrow would sometimes discuss formations with Black Shang, but Night Sorrow didn't teach him about the 1000 derivation formation. It wasn't that Night Sorrow wasn't broad-minded enough, but that the 1000 derivation formation was too important. It was related to the safety of Clear Sky City and the Heaven Sealing Palace. The Heaven Sealing Palace was also related to the safety of the 9 regions. There couldn't be the slightest mistake. On the 9th day after Long Xianxing and the others left, Taishu Yen reported that the 9 Dark King had left the camp. Night Sorrow asked Taishu Yen to crush Long Xuanqing's messaging crystal. He knew that his plan had come to fruition. As for the result, he would only know when Long Xianxing and the others returned. Night Sorrow was somewhat excited. If Long Xianxing and the others carried out the plan perfectly, then they could eliminate most of the Nether Realm's forces and change the direction of the war. On the 3rd day after Taishu Yen crushed the messaging crystal, Long Xianxing and the others returned. Search the basket to read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 879. Night Sorrow didn't ask anything. First, he did a head count to see if everyone had returned. Then, Night Sorrow noticed that Flying Tiger Sage was missing a leg. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read the latest chapter. Senior Flying Tiger Sage, you. Night Sorrow didn't know how to continue. It's nothing. Losing a limb will just consume some energy and time. I'll recover in a dozen years, said Flying Tiger Sage. Then, Long Xianxing explained the situation to Night Sorrow. This time, the results were pretty good. They had killed 5 Puppet Kings and 6 Soul King. However, their self-detonation had given 7 Fiend King a chance to escape. When 6 Soul Kings self-detonated, Flying Tiger Sage, who was closest to him, had been heavily injured. The results of this battle are very good. Martial Uncle Taishu, give the Flying Tiger Saint some life spirit fluid. Give him whatever resources he needs to recover, Yishan instructed Taishu Yen and Lu Qin. Also, we'll have to continue fighting. Everyone, please continue to work hard, said Night Sorrow. How do we fight? Asked Long Xianxing. That 9E Nether King isn't here. What are we waiting for? I'll go gather people. We'll start killing now. Remember to destroy the teleportation formation first. After that, kill as many people as you can. If you're injured or exhausted, enter the teleportation formation, ordered Night Sorrow. Following Night Sorrow's orders, Long Xianxing and the others began to move. Night Sorrow went through the spatial tunnel and arrived at the 1000 derivation killing formation. He opened a hole in the formation and brought the people of the two worlds through the spatial tunnel. He was worried about Father Gu and Yin Yanqiao's safety and directly sent them into the spacetime pagoda. Then, a formation master led everyone through the Great Cycle formation to attack the Netherworld army. The Netherworld army's strength was 2 to 3 times that of the 9 regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm. However, with only high-level saints present, they weren't able to block the attacks of the two worlds. Long Xianxing first followed Night Sorrow's instructions and destroyed the enemy's teleportation formation before starting the battle. Night Sorrow rushed over and started looking for Ji Yuhao. He wanted to kill Ji Yuhao as soon as possible, but he couldn't find him. That guy isn't here. I've been looking for him with the others, but we haven't found him, Snow Dusk said to Night Sorrow as she fought. Then let's fight first. Pay attention to my parents' safety. Night Sorrow instructed Xueshi. Xueshi was now a mid-stage 6-star saint, but her strength was far beyond a 7-star saint. With Night Sorrow's current combat strength, he could defeat beginner-level saints, but killing them would take time. If he encountered venerables, he could kill them in 2 shots. The other 9 domain worlds and the Profound Mysteries realm were also fighting fiercely. Everyone knew that this was a rare opportunity to draw closer to the 9 domain worlds and the Nether realm. Although the army of the Netherworld realm was being suppressed, they were still fighting ferociously. The Netherworld beasts and the Netherworld race fought to the death without retreating. They had the ferocity to bite their enemies even if they had to die in battle. Fortunately, the elites of the 9 domain worlds and the Profound Mysteries realm were strong. They had 4 peak saints, 3 high-level saints, and even more mid-level saints. The 9 domain world side had been fighting conservatively. As long as they were injured or exhausted, they would retreat. At this time, the battle had lasted for 2 hours. The Netherworld realm's army's strength had been halved. However, the 9 domain world side only had a few saints and venerables left. Night Sorrow and the others are here. It's the 3 Netherworld kings, reminded Xian Wenxiu. Retreat. Right now, we're exhausted, and our condition isn't good. We can't fight to the death. Retreat immediately. Night Sorrow gave the order to retreat. This time, the ones who hadn't been held back were all saints and venerables. A clean retreat was still possible. Night Sorrow and the others retreated into the formation and watched the newcomers. That's not right. That 6-soul king clearly self-detonated. How could he still be alive? Frowned Sky Underworld Sage. A spiritual clone. What he self-detonated might be his spiritual clone. As for why it's so strong, it's hard to say. We don't understand his cultivation technique or talent, said Long Xianxing. Killing the 5 puppet kings is a great victory. Being able to kill 6-soul kings clone is also a good thing, said Night Sorrow. Not bad. We've gained a lot from this battle. Now, we're infinitely closer to the Netherworld realm, said Xiaolanjun. She was very happy that the 9 domain world side had obtained such a result. It could be said that they were getting closer and closer to victory. The 9 underworld monarch's expression was cold. She hadn't expected the 9 domain world's 2 moves to cause her strategy to fail. Furthermore, they had suffered a huge blow. 9 underworld monarch, what's going on? The 7 fiends king was puzzled. Their commander's strategy is very good. It should be because after taking down the spatial channel, they set up a transportation formation in our territory. That's why we've been forced into a passive position. 6 Soul, arrange for all the nether beasts to start clearing out from here. The 9 underworld monarch thought for a moment and realized what had gone wrong. The 9 underworld monarch reorganized her camp. At the same time, she told the other 2 underworld monarchs not to leave this region. She couldn't withstand the 9 domain worlds' attacks alone. Knight Sorrow brought his people back to the command tent and then asked Tai Shu Yen about the situation. After Tai Shu Yen reported, Knight Sorrow sighed. They hadn't been able to prevent people from dying in battle. This time, there were more than 10 initial venerables who had died. This is already very good. We've lost dozens of times more than the enemy. This is practically impossible in war, said Xiaolongjun. The results are good, but we still have to avoid casualties. Marshal Uncle Tai, Marshal Uncle Lu, record the names of those who died. Once we return, we have to make proper arrangements for their families. They died in battle for their homeland, so we have to make sure their families have a better life, said Knight Sorrow to Tai Shu Yen and Lu Qin. Tai Shu Yen and Lu Qin nodded. They knew that this was Knight Sorrow's character and way of doing things. He would definitely make the people around him feel at ease. The only regret this time is that we weren't able to get rid of that scourge, Ji Yuhao. I don't know where he ran off to, said Knight Sorrow, somewhat puzzled. The others shook their heads. They also didn't know the situation. Knight Sorrow then arranged for everyone to rest. A high-intensity battle had consumed a great deal of everyone's energy. It had to be known that the Netherrealm's army fought without fear of death. There were even many times when both sides suffered. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been more than 10 deaths in the 9 domain worlds battle. Knight Sorrow was practicing in the command tent. He had just entered the Sage Realm. Now, he needed to stabilize his cultivation base. There were many areas that he needed to master through a comprehensive study. Knight Sorrow was also at ease. He was waiting for the 9 domain world's troops to recover. Then, the battle could start at any time. The Netherrealm had fallen into a passive situation. In fact, Knight Sorrow also knew that it wasn't that the 9 underworld monarch wasn't good enough. It was that he had taken the initiative and made the other party fall into a passive situation. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so easy to fight. The first free reading of Myriad Tao Becomes a God. Chapter 880. 3 days later, the exhaustion and tiredness of the 9 domains world from the hard battle had disappeared, and the saints had recovered to their peak state. Search for Rotten Book Handle and read new chapters. This battle was very comfortable. We almost cut the Netherworld realm's strength in half, and we only suffered a little loss. Sky Underworld Saint was very happy. Knight Sorrow, this should be considered a loss-free battle. We should be happy. You just need to study how to fight. All of us are prepared to die in battle, Xiaolongjun said. The battle has reached this stage. In fact, we already have the ability to control the situation. They are relying on nothing more than being unafraid of death and daring to fight. Knight Sorrow said. They shouldn't scare us by saying that they are unafraid of death. It's not like we have never seen life and death. Black Dragon Saint said. Everyone is right to think so, but from my point of view, you are all my seniors. I don't want any losses. The great massacre of the profound heaven world is the time for us to truly fight. Now is the time for us to train our troops. Knight Sorrow said. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the others nodded. Soldiers and commanders naturally had different thoughts and actions. What they had to do was to carry out orders. On the 6th day after the battle, Tai Shu Yen came to Knight Sorrow's tent. Commander, our 2 teleportation arrays have been destroyed. This is within my expectations. If they still can't analyze that we have teleportation arrays in their world under such circumstances, then they are idiots. Knight Sorrow said. Then we can't use some of our tactics. Jun Xuanji, who had followed Tai Shu Yan into the tent, said. Some methods can only be used occasionally. They can't be used continuously. The purpose of the 2 teleportation arrays has been achieved. They think that we can't continue to set up the battle because we don't have teleportation arrays. It's not about the gains and losses of one place. Knight Sorrow said as he made tea for the 2. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Jun Xuanji and Tai Shu Yan nodded. They knew that Knight Sorrow had the ability to do so. Next, Knight Sorrow walked around the Grand Heavenly Cycle Array and looked at the other party's camp. Even though they'd suffered heavy injuries a few times, the army of the Netherworld was still in order, and there wasn't any disturbance. Knight Sorrow really admired Yama King Nine Yin's commanding ability. At the same time, Knight Sorrow also found out that Ji Yuhao was in a tent right beside Yama King Nine Yin's tent. When Knight Sorrow returned to the command tent, he reported the situation. That's because the Nine Yin Dark King brought Ji Yuhao with him last time. That copper bell of the Nine Yin Dark King might also be a spatial saint treasure. Long Xianqing said. We have 4 pinnacle saints on our side. What are our chances of winning against their 3 pinnacle saints? Knight Sorrow asked. I can fight the Nine Yin Underworld King to a standstill. Long Xianqing said. I can suppress the 7 Fiends King. Xian Wenxiu made his stance clear. I can stop 6 Soul King, but I can't suppress him, Heavenly Underworld Saint said. What about Heavenly Underworld Saint and Senior Shang Luo working together to deal with 6 Soul King? Knight Sorrow asked. But if that's the case, we won't have any advantage against high-level saints, and will be at a disadvantage against mid-level saints, said Ciel Anjun. Knight Sorrow thought about it. Right now, he wanted to whittle down the enemy's strength without suffering any losses. After thinking about it, Knight Sorrow felt that it wasn't enough. He still needed to think about it. Then let me think about it. After returning to the tent, Knight Sorrow continued to think about battle strategies as he cultivated. In the end, Knight Sorrow felt that they could wait. When the Netherworld army charged, the formation he had set up would have a miraculous effect. By relying on the formation to whittle down the enemy's strength, it would be a battle without losses. The 9 Realms World's camp was very stable. It could be said that after 2 battles, the crisis of the 9 Realms world had been resolved. Knight Sorrow cultivated every day. His true chi was becoming more and more stable, and his strength was rapidly increasing. After Knight Sorrow finished cultivating and made tea, Tai Shu Yan, Yun Tianlong, and Jun Xuanji came to Knight Sorrow's tent. What's the matter? Asked Knight Sorrow as he poured tea for the 3 of them. Nothing. It's just that we're letting them stay outside so comfortably. We should think of a way to deal with them, said Jun Xuanji. In this situation, are we the ones who are anxious, or are they? The world behind us is as stable as Mount Tai, and they're worried that we'll attack at any time. If my calculations aren't wrong, they'll be very busy trying to break our grand cycle formation. It won't be long before they can break it, said Knight Sorrow. Then you can activate the dark formation in the grand cycle formation to trick them. Jun Xuanji understood Knight Sorrow's meaning. It's rare for you to understand. If we trick them again, then our 2 realms' strength will surpass theirs. When that time comes, we'll be able to win, said Knight Sorrow with a smile. I told you not to be anxious. The commander knows what he's doing, but you 2 just had to ask, said Tai Shu Yan as she looked at Yun Tianlong and Jun Xuanji. Yun Tianlong smiled embarrassedly. It's mainly because everyone's hands are itching. We're not rushing you. We can wait. Everyone needs to work hard to raise their cultivation bases. In terms of resources, martial uncles and city lords will have to pay more attention. In addition, the formation masters stationed in the formation have to be vigilant. Don't make any mistakes. That's very important, said Knight Sorrow. Soon after, Tai Shu Yen and the other two left. Knight Sorrow didn't care about the current stalemate. The Netherworld realm wouldn't be willing to be in such a passive situation. It was only a matter of time before they broke the formation. When that time came, as long as they could eliminate a bit of the Netherworld realm's strength, the following battle would be easy. In addition, Knight Sorrow was currently raising his strength. Knight Sorrow had refined the multicolored light he obtained after the lightning tribulation. However, he couldn't control the golden light. The golden light reached the periphery of Knight Sorrow's spirit sea and formed a golden halo. In the quiet days, Knight Sorrow continued to analyze and comprehend the laws of the power of desolates. He was building a foundation for his body to enter the golden body realm. After half a month, Knight Sorrow felt that the reincarnation spear had undergone some changes after being nourished by the law of nothingness. It was as if it had become a part of his body. Knowing that weapons could be upgraded as they were nourished, Knight Sorrow would deliberately nourish it with his law of nothingness and spiritual strength every time he cultivated. There were very few saint-level weapons. There was still a difference between obtaining a saint-level weapon left behind by a predecessor and nurturing one's own saint-level weapon. If one kept using it, the nurtured weapon could be called a life weapon. After cultivating steadily for a month, Knight Sorrow's myriad Tao Tome had reached the peak of the spirit refinement realm. Knight Sorrow also planned to make a breakthrough. Once his body cultivated to the 7th level, his defense would reach an unimaginable level. Seeking strength pills are equivalent to 1,000 devil fruits. If I don't have 10 updates today, my bad temper will come out. It's 4 a.m. now. After writing the second update, I won't sleep anymore. I'll continue to do Myriad Tao Ascension. Chapter 881. After patrolling the area and informing the others, Knight Sorrow entered the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda and began his closed-door training. He searched for Lazy Book Bar and read new chapters. The Myriad Tao Tome's spirit refinement realm was mainly to strengthen the soul in preparation for entering the 7th level. This was because the golden body realm required the power of laws and soul force to strengthen the body again. It could be said that the body had to be turned into energy. Blood was energy, tendons were energy, bones and skin were all energy. Any damage to the body could be directly repaired with energy. The golden body realm was the beginning of the Myriad Tao Tome's golden body realm. As long as one cultivated the golden body realm, it would be very difficult for weapons to damage the body. Only energy attacks could damage the body from the inside. Knight Sorrow's soul force and power of laws were cultivated to a certain level. Now that his energy cultivation had reached a bottleneck and was stable enough, he could naturally advance. After stabilizing his emotions and consuming 2 drops of life spirit liquid, Knight Sorrow began his advancement journey. First, his soul force and desolation's law fused. Next, it fused with the Myriad Tao Tome's energy. Next, he began to strengthen the various parts of his body, turning it into energy. This was another extremely painful process. With his body's ability to endure pain from the past, Knight Sorrow could still endure it. The fusion of desolation's law, soul force, and Myriad Tao Tome's energy was extremely tyrannical. Fortunately, Knight Sorrow's body had been strengthened and nourished by Xuexi's help. It was strong and tough enough to not break through and damage him. Hands, arms, legs, waist, abdomen, neck, head. Knight Sorrow strengthened the various parts of his body. This pain exceeded all the previous body strengthening. It could be said that the body's original structure was broken and reassembled, advancing towards the most perfect state. This pain was simply indescribable. It wasn't as painful as peeling off the skin and breaking the bones. Night Sorrow's face was dripping with sweat. His body was almost soaked in sweat. The muscles on his face were moving rhythmically uncontrollably. Night Sorrow gritted his teeth and persevered. He knew that he couldn't give up. He had suffered so much in the cultivation of the 10,000 Dao Tome, and he didn't care about this time. As long as he persevered, he would win. Night Sorrow used 3 days to strengthen every part of his body. Next, he strengthened his internal organs. The pain that came from within his body was even more unbearable. It felt as if 100 ants were gnawing at his heart. Night Sorrow clenched his fists, the veins on the back of his hands throbbing. It took him 2 days to complete the strengthening of his internal organs. After strengthening his internal organs, a tyrannical energy began to circulate within Night Sorrow's body. Success. Golden body state. Night Sorrow knew that his body had reached a perfect state. His entire body had been transformed into energy. His blood was energy, and so were his bones. Just as Night Sorrow was about to cultivate the outer chapter, Shao Kahn communicated with Night Sorrow and said that the tribulation clouds had appeared. Night Sorrow had already expected the lightning tribulation to appear. This was because when he cultivated the 10,000 Dao Tome to the 6th stage of the spirit refinement state, the lightning tribulation would appear. Now that he had entered the 7th stage of the golden body state, it would be strange if the lightning tribulation didn't appear. Night Sorrow entered the pool and washed himself. Then, he changed into a robe and rushed out of the spacetime pagoda towards the Supreme River Dimension. This time was tight. Night Sorrow didn't have time to bring the others through the formation. He went to the Supreme River Dimension to accept the lightning tribulation. When Night Sorrow's true energy reached the Sage Realm, his strength was much weaker than it was now. Now that he had true energy cultivation of the Sage Realm, it was much easier to resist the lightning tribulation. After using his bloodline innate ability, spatial rend, and true energy to resist the 3rd lightning tribulation, Night Sorrow began to use his body to resist the 4th lightning tribulation. Before his body reached the golden body state, Night Sorrow had tried to use lightning to refine his body. Now that his body had reached the 7th stage of the golden body state, it was no problem at all. After enduring 2 lightning tribulations, Night Sorrow sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. Passing the lightning tribulation was equivalent to passing the heavenly Tao's test. Naturally, there would be rewards. Night Sorrow received all of them and then stabilized his cultivation. At this time, Night Moon's sovereigns formed a protective circle, not allowing anyone to come close. With the unstable GU family in the 9 regions world, Night Moon's people naturally wouldn't allow anyone to disturb Night Sorrow when he needed some peace and quiet. Region Lord Wu, what's going on with the Lord Commander? Jun Xuanji asked Wu Lingfei. He didn't understand what was going on. There's no harm in talking about it. Night Sorrow doesn't just cultivate true energy, he also cultivates his body. Previously, he reached the 7th stage of the Saint Realm through true energy. Now, his body might have also broken through, said Wu Lingfei as she glanced at Jun Xuanji and Ren Tianji. Wu Lingfei wasn't afraid that Jun Xuanji and Ren Tianji would know this. Night Sorrow was surpassing his previous opponent step by step. When I fought him, he had just reached the 9th stage of the Saint Realm. His body hadn't reached this level yet. Even if I attacked him, it wasn't impossible for me to break through his defense. Now that his body has reached the 7th stage, there's no need to talk about it, said Ren Tianji. Jun Xuanji nodded. She had a strong personality and didn't like to admit defeat. But facing Night Sorrow, she had no choice but to admit defeat. No matter what, she knew that there was a huge gap between them. After cultivating for 3 days, Night Sorrow stood up and clenched his fists. Then an explosive sound rang out. Night Moon's people all retreated a few steps because the pressure was too great. Night Sorrow's current aura was like a small sun. His blood energy filled the air, and his essence chi soared into the sky. Night Sorrow's blood energy was like a landslide or a tsunami. In truth, the energy contained within his body had already far surpassed the power of a landslide or a tsunami. But this was a pirated version. Yi Shan waved his hand and punched the air. When he punched out, the area in front of his fist was filled with images of flowing time. Space also appeared in front of his fist. Very good. Thank you, great uncles. Thank you, mother. Night Sorrow cupped his hands toward Night God Thunder and the others before nodding to Yu Qing. Ha, the feeling of breaking through is very good, laughed Night God Thunder. Very good, Yi Shan said with a smile. Alright, you can go do what you need to do. There are many people in the formation who want to know about you. If you have time, come find me for a drink. Night God Thunder nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded to Night Moon once more and brought Yu Qing into the formation. After entering the 1000 derivation killing formation and passing through the spatial channel, Night Sorrow saw Yi Linghuan, Yi Wuyo, Wu Lingfei, and the others. Your blood energy is like a tsunami. It's already a miracle that your body could reach this level. Even demon beasts and spirit beasts are far inferior to you, said Long Xianxing. Senior Long Xianxing, you praise me too much. Night Sorrow still has a long way to go, said Night Sorrow. You're definitely the first person in the history of the 9 regions world to cultivate your body to the 7th rank. You can even ignore normal attacks, said Sky Underworld Saint. Even a saint would feel the pressure from Yi Shang's surging chi in blood. 9 Yin Underworld King stood in the command tent and looked toward the spatial channel. He then closed his eyes and pondered. Click, Myriad Dao becomes God, to read for free. Chapter 882. Nether King 9 Yin, there's a spiritual chi signal over there. What's going on? The 7 Fiends King arrived at the Nether King 9 Yin's tent. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters. Someone, or perhaps some demonic beast, has cultivated their body to a certain level. But I don't know who it is, said the Nether King 9 Yin. I really didn't think there would be someone who could cultivate to such a level. Nether King 9 Yin, if we don't break this formation, we can only passively take a beating. This isn't a problem, said the 7 Fiends King. He was the 2nd king of the Netherworld. In 2 more days, I will be able to break this grand cosmic formation. When the time comes, the battle will begin. Also, gather all the troops that you can, Hades King 9 Yin said to King 7 Fiends. The 7 Fiends King nodded and went to make the arrangements. Night Sorrow took a bath and returned to his tent. He was in a great mood. Both his true chi and the Myriad Dao scripture had reached the 7th rank. He was confident he could even kill a 3-star saint now. Xue Shi, Sikong Chiyu, Yang Lei, and Ah Oi were all happy for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's parents and Wu Lingfei also came to Night Sorrow's tent. Everyone's here. Night Sorrow got up to brew some tea, but Sikong Chiyu took the tea set away. Now that your strength has increased, Mother will be much more at ease. Yu Qing looked at Night Sorrow. Read novels. I'll continue to work hard on my cultivation. I'll bring my sister and dad out for some fresh air, said Night Sorrow. He roused Yi Nianxiao and Yi Gu from their cultivation and brought them out. Brother, are you trying to suffocate me? Fortunately, the spiritual chi there is very dense, and the cultivation effect is very strong. Yi Nianxiao sat down next to Night Sorrow. I'll be more careful in the future. Later, I'll send you to our Night Moon Dynasty's camp. However, the world is chaotic. You should help me take care of Old Man Gu. Night Sorrow rubbed Yi Nianxiao's head. Yes, I will. Don't worry, big brother. Yi Nianxiao nodded. Night Sorrow, why did you bring father here? Old Man Gu looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow didn't hide the truth from Ji Yu's family, and told him about how Ji Yu's family betrayed the Nine Regions world. Mr. Gu nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow was worried about his safety. He didn't want to drag Night Sorrow down. Nianxiao, you have to congratulate your brother. Your brother has broken through to the Saint stage. He's the youngest Saint stage in the Nine Domains world and the youngest Saint stage in history, Yu Qing said to her daughter. Brother Saint, you're the best. After being stunned for a moment, Yi Nian grabbed Night Sorrow's arm. You'll be able to do the same in the future. Night Sorrow smiled. After drinking tea, everyone went to rest and cultivate. Yi Wuyo's strength was increasing, while Yu Qing was already at the peak of the 8th rank. She needed to stabilize her cultivation base and comprehend law energy. Night Sorrow sent Xue Shi and the others into the spacetime pagoda to cultivate. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing often cultivated with Long Xianxing, so it wasn't convenient for them to enter the spacetime pagoda. Next, Night Sorrow sent Old Man Gu and Yi Nianxiao to the Night Moon Dynasty's camp. He told Yi Lingxie and Yi Xinyue to pay attention to their safety. Yi Xinyue and Yi Lingxie both knew that Yi Xiang was worried because of Ji Yu's betrayal. After saying goodbye to Tai Shu Yan and the others, Night Sorrow returned to his tent and began to stabilize his cultivation base. Tai Shu Yan, Yun Tianlong, Lu Qin, and Jun Xuanji could all understand why Night Sorrow was working so hard. His true qi and body had just advanced, so he definitely needed time to stabilize his cultivation base. Furthermore, Night Sorrow's strength was rapidly increasing. After entering the spacetime pagoda, Night Sorrow reached the 70th floor. However, Xiao Kong told Night Sorrow that he could now enter the 70th floor. Given the strength of Night Sorrow's body, entering the 73rd floor shouldn't be a problem. Night Sorrow nodded and had Xiao Kong bring him to the 73rd floor. Xiao Kong told Night Sorrow that under normal circumstances, in other words, under normal circumstances, the 73rd floor of the spacetime pagoda would have time acceleration and deceleration by 3 times. The 71st floor had 1 time acceleration, the 72nd floor had 2 times acceleration, and the 73rd floor had 3 times acceleration. Time acceleration meant that 3 days inside the 73rd floor was 1 day outside. If it was deceleration, then 1 day inside the 73rd floor was 3 days outside. What Night Sorrow needed was speed. What he needed was time. When Night Sorrow began to cultivate, he forgot about everything else. There were too many things he needed to do. First, he needed to stabilize his cultivation base. Second, he needed to refine the multicolored light he had obtained after passing the lightning tribulation. That was a reward from the heavenly Daos. It was an all-purpose energy that was extremely rare. Furthermore, Night Sorrow didn't know what was going on with the 2 golden lights he had obtained. Now, they had merged into one and were circulating around his spirit sea. This meant that Night Sorrow's soul had an additional layer of protection. Night Sorrow had been cultivating for half a month. Of course, only 5 days had passed in the outside world. Night Sorrow had only come out of the spacetime pagoda because he had sensed that his messaging crystal had cracked. Tai Shu Yan had sent a message to Night Sorrow when she realized that the other party had begun to break the array. Very good. They are finally going to move. Let's see who is better, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow said as he entered the array formation to watch Dark Monarch 9 break the array. Dark Monarch 9 led some of the Netherworld Realm saints to figure out how to break the array. Night Sorrow kept throwing spirit stones into the array formation as he watched Dark Monarch 9 break the array. He was controlling the 1000 Development Illusionary Array. If Night Sorrow didn't interfere, the 1000 Development Illusionary Array would be activated. At this time, only Dark Monarch 9 had entered the area of the 1000 Development Illusionary Array. The other saints had yet to enter. Dark Monarch 9 had studied the Heavenly Cycle Array for a very long time and had thoroughly studied it. The speed of breaking the array formation was still very fast. As Dark Monarch 9 advanced, the other saints, including 7 Fiends King and 6 Soul King, followed by her side to protect her. At this time, Dark Monarch 9's mind was focused on breaking the array. 7 Fiends King and 6 Soul King were worried that she would be ambushed. This effect was what Knight Sorrow wanted. He wanted to trap more experts from the Netherworld realm. Only then would he be able to produce results. When Dark Monarch 9 led 7 Fiends King, 6 Soul King, and the other saints into the area of the array formation, Knight Sorrow shook his hands and threw spirit stones into the ground to activate the 1000 Development Illusionary Array. Following the activation of the 1000 Development Illusionary Array, the area of the array formation broken by Dark Monarch 9 was filled with white fog. Energy rose from the ground and surrounded the people from the Netherworld realm. Not good, retreat. Dark Monarch 9 realized that something was wrong. She pulled out the scimitar at her waist and swung it, creating a crack in the energy that had just filled the air. Then, she led 7 Fiends King and 6 Soul King out of the array formation. How could Knight Sorrow let them escape? He led Long Xianqing and Xian Wenxiu over and blocked the 3 of them. This was the time to consolidate the results of the battle. Download Myriad Dao Ascension for free. Chapter 883. With Knight Sorrow leading the way, Long Xianqing and Xian Wenxiu naturally had no problem intercepting her. Long Xianqing used the chaotic space to block her attack, while Xian Wenxiu attacked 7 Fiend King and 6 Soul King. Search for Rotten Book Handle and read new chapters. Seeing that someone was intercepting her, Dark Monarch 9's body trembled. A copper bell appeared in front of her and slashed apart her astral saber. The area where the energy had yet to close was locked down. Following that, the death energy spread out in all directions, preventing Long Xianqing's chaotic space from suppressing her. She then waved her saber rapidly, slashing apart the space in front of her and expanding it. At this time, she understood that she had fallen into another formation. The attack that Dark Monarch 9 was using now was her strongest attack. When Dark Monarch 9 attacked, 7 Fiend King and 6 Soul King also attacked. They started attacking Long Xianqing and Xian Wenxiu, giving Dark Monarch 9 space to charge forward. In such a situation, Knight Sorrow was naturally unwilling. His body flashed and his reincarnation spear shot towards Dark Monarch 9. Die for this king. Dark Monarch 9 waved her saber and charged towards Knight Sorrow. Bang! Following a muffled sound, Knight Sorrow was sent flying by Dark Monarch 9's astral saber. At this time, Dark Monarch 9 charged out of the energy gap fixed by the copper bell. Knight Sorrow was unable to stop her. The difference between the two of them was simply too great. However, as Dark Monarch 9 charged out, the 1000 Development Illusory Formation closed up, leaving 7 Fiend King, 6 Soul King, and the other saints in the formation. Following that, Knight Sorrow threw spirit stones into the ground. He wanted to complete the Great Cycle Formation. This way, it would be equivalent to 2 formations operating at the same time. Even if Dark Monarch 9 could break the Great Cycle Formation, she wouldn't be able to do it. At this time, the Great Cycle Formation wasn't operating on its own. If she didn't break the 1000 Development Illusory Formation, she wouldn't be able to break the Great Cycle Formation. Knight Sorrow found Long Xianqing and Xian Wenxiu and told them not to fight, but to use the formation to trap and attack the enemies for a while. The 1000 Derivation Illusory Formation could only trap people, but the Heavenly Cycle Grand Formation was extremely powerful. Dark King 9, what do you think of this move of mine? Do you think you can break our formation so easily? In terms of strategy, you are far from it. Ji Yuhao, come back quickly. Knight Sorrow stood in the formation and yelled at Dark King Nine, who was madly attacking the formation. Nine Dark King turned around, flashed across the air and showed up in front of Ji Yuhao's tent. He threw a palm strike with his left hand and shattered the tent. The great Tao of Death suppressed Ji Yuhao directly. Listen to me. If I had been sent by the 9 regions world, they would have protected me. How could this have happened? Ji Yuhao hurriedly shouted. Dark King Nine grabbed Ji Yuhao's robes with his left hand and swung his saber with his right hand, slapping Ji Yuhao's face until it looked like a pig's head. Regardless of whether Ji Yuhao had been sent by the 9 regions world, it was a fact that the Netherworld realm had been tricked. Dark King Nine was furious. How about a high-level saint in exchange for him? Knight Sorrow stood at the edge of the formation and asked. Are you serious? Dark King Nine looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. No, they want to kill me, Ji Yuhao said anxiously. As soon as he opened his mouth to speak, the teeth that had been broken by Dark King Nine fell to the ground. Ji Yuhao, we don't need to act right now. There's no need to do this with them. A high-level saint in exchange for your safety is worth Dark King Nine. I, Knight Sorrow, am a man of my word, Knight Sorrow said. Knight Sorrow had made up his mind to properly screw over Ji Yuhao. If he negotiated like this, no matter what Dark King Nine decided, Ji Yuhao would not have a good ending. But a high-level saint is not enough. I want the 7 Fiend King and the 6 Soul King, said Dark King Nine. Sigh, a high-level saint is not enough for a venerable. Forget about the Dark King Nine. Ji Yuhao, the 9 regions world will remember you. Knight Sorrow then walked into the formation. Knight Sorrow, I will definitely grind your bones to dust. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Ji Yuhao was so angry that his eyes turned red. He knew that Knight Sorrow was planning to screw him over. The people of the 9 regions world will remember what you did. You were the one who negotiated with them to let them choose high-level saints. I can be the one to use a high-level saint in exchange for you. But you should also know that Dark King Nine is the one who exchanged for you. In other words, it was worth it for you to sacrifice the big shots of the Nether Realm. After Yi Shang finished speaking, he entered the array and took a look at the Nether Realm saints who were being attacked by the cosmic array. Let's go back and have a cup of tea first, then come back to clean up the spoils of war. At this time, the people of the 9 regions camp did not dare to move. Only Knight Sorrow could enter and leave freely. The confrontation this time was really beautiful. Taishian ordered people to serve everyone a jar of wine. Knight Sorrow, Ji Yuhao's life is not going to be easy now. Your conversation just now firmly put the blame on his head. Xiao Lanjun said with a smile. She really did not expect Knight Sorrow to have such ability. With just a few words, he had put Ji Yuhao in danger. A high-level saint in exchange for him, we will do it. A high-level saint cannot change the situation of the war. But Ji Yu's family is a huge hidden danger to our 2 worlds. Because I really want to exchange, Dark King Nine does not doubt the authenticity of my words. Knight Sorrow said. That's right. If it's a high-level saint in exchange, we will do it. But Dark King Nine is not worth it. He can change the situation of the war. You have made a good decision. Long Xianqing said to Knight Sorrow. In an hour, we'll go and harvest the spoils of war. In an hour, they'll have expended quite a bit of energy under the attacks of the Great Cosmic Formation. We'll start killing low-level saints and kill high-level saints. By then, the high-level saints will be expended. Knight Sorrow said as he drank his tea. The others nodded. Now, in the formation, only Knight Sorrow could come and go as he pleased. The others could not. Then, Night Sorrow told them how to deal with the situation. He would enter the formation and change the energy of the formation. He would create a small passage and pull out the Netherrealm Saints one by one to kill. Night Sorrow's method was approved by everyone. They were not as worried about Night Sorrow's safety as before. After all, Night Sorrow was also an expert. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow began to take action. He controlled the formation from afar and let the Netherrealm Saints feel that there was a way out. Naturally, they would rush out of the formation and come to the 9 regions world side. Even more. Peak Saints killing low-level and mid-level Saints was like child's play. Not to mention, when everyone attacked together, the Netherrealm Saints were still in an exhausted state. After a while, 5 or 6 low-level Saints were killed. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow took the crystal cores of the Netherrealm Saints and passed through the formation to throw their corpses to the Netherrealm side. Dark King 9, you still have time to consider. If you are willing to exchange, call me. I really don't want the people of the 9 regions world to be injured. Night Sorrow shouted at Dark King 9 Yin's command tent. Night Sorrow, I will definitely kill you. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Ji Yuhao, who was being beaten up by Dark King 9 Yin in the command tent, shouted hysterically. Ji Yuhao was in a miserable state now. He was almost deformed by Dark King 9 Yin. Download God Ascension through Myriad DAO for free. Chapter 884. After that, Night Sorrow returned to the array and began to lead the mid-level Saints to kill. Search for Rotten Book Handle and read new chapters. The Netherrealm Saints who had been tortured by the Great Cycle Array were like lambs. One by one, they were led out of the array by Night Sorrow and killed by the 9 region Saints. Night Sorrow, your array is too powerful. Actually, even if we don't do anything, the array can kill people. Xiao Longjun said. The 1000 derivation illusion array will confuse the soul and give them the most realistic feeling. For example, they will think that they can charge out if they fight in one direction, but in reality, they will just go in circles. Night Sorrow said. Everyone knew that this was the power of an array master. If they were ambushed by an array, they would die if they couldn't break it. After all the mid-level Saints were killed, Night Sorrow threw the storage rings and Saint Crystals to Tai Shu Yen and Lu Qin. He wouldn't take any of the resources. We have abundant resources now. Some time ago, Senior Long Xianqing and Senior Xianqing brought back a lot of resources. Tai Shu Yen said with a smile. Now, both realms need to develop, especially the Profound Mysteries realm. We should focus on the resources. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow's decision was supported by everyone. The higher-ups of the 9 regions world didn't have any objections. One had to know that the Profound Mysteries realm had really contributed in this war. It could be said that without the Profound Mysteries realm, the 9 regions world wouldn't have been able to achieve this. The people of the Profound Mysteries realm all bowed to Night Sorrow because of Night Sorrow's generosity. After that, Night Sorrow threw all the mid-level Saints' corpses to the Nether realm. 9 Dark King, I'll ask you one more time. If you don't, the next batch will be high-level Saints' corpses. At that time, you won't be able to trade even if you want to. Night Sorrow said. This king will tell you one thing. As long as this king doesn't die, the Nether realm won't compromise. 9 Dark King dragged Ji Yuhao's deformed body and said. Good. Ji Yuhao, this is the last thing you can do for the 9 realms. Night Sorrow then returned to the formation. He knew that Ji Yuhao would not be able to trade for it. If Ji Yuhao tried his best to explain, he would still be able to live, but he would not be able to gain any status or value. Because of the formation, the Netherworld realms suffered a great loss. Back then, the Netherworld realm saints around Yama King 9 were 1/3 of the total number of Netherworld saints, but they were all killed in the formation. After returning to the Array formation, Knight Sorrow continued his massacre. 4 hours later, only 7 Evils King and 6 Soul King were left alive in the Array formation formed by the combination of Thousand Derivation Grand Array and Heavenly Cycle Grand Array. Knight Sorrow first pulled 6 Soul King out of the array. Following that, Long Xianqing used the Chaotic Space Control, and the other 3 Pinnacle Saints worked together to kill the struggling 6 Soul King. At this moment, Dark King 9 was listening to Ji Yuhao's explanation. After some analysis, Dark King 9 understood Ji Yuhao's situation in the 9 regions world. He also knew that Ji Yuhao was not worth exchanging for Dark King 9. At this moment, a crystal in her sleeve shattered. 6 Soul King murmured. Dark King 9's eyes turned red. She knew that 6 Soul King had fallen. However, at this moment, 7 Evils King appeared from the teleportation array. Dark King 9, that clone of mine can't hold on any longer. Even if they don't attack, it won't last for long. Knight Sorrow, who had entered the array formation to lure 7 Evils King out, noticed the situation outside the array formation. He could not help but curse inwardly. He knew that the array formation trapped 7 Evils King's clone. After that, Knight Sorrow lured 7 Evils King's clone out. As soon as he was lured out, he was about to self-destruct. However, with Long Xuanqing's chaotic space control and Xian Wenqiu's defensive saint treasure, the 9 regions world camp did not suffer any damage. Knight Sorrow also explained 7 Evils King's situation. After learning that they had killed 7 Evils King's soul clone, although they were a little annoyed, they were already very satisfied with such a harvest. These Dark Kings all have clones, and their strength is very strong. They are not much different from the main body, Knight Sorrow said. Don't worry. This battle has practically crippled the Nether realm. In the following battle, we will have an absolute advantage. If they hadn't fought with us in a mutually destructive manner, we wouldn't have died yet. Xiao Longjun said happily. Not only Xiao Longjun was happy, but the others were also very happy. It could be said that the 9 regions world camp had won. Novel in the command tent of the Nether world camp. Dark King 9, we are now in a passive position. The 2 of us can only hold back their 2 strongest experts. There are still 2 pinnacle saints that we can't fight against. If they rush out, we won't be able to stop them. 7 Evils King's face was full of worry. Things aren't that bad. This king's clone is about to arrive with the 9 blood guards. Let's see if they can rush out and try. Dark King 9 snorted coldly. While Knight Sorrow was patrolling the formation, he sensed another 9 Nether King walking out of the teleportation formation. Nearly 100 Nether race warriors in red armor appeared behind him one after another. These Nether race warriors were different from ordinary Nether race warriors. Their faces were filled with runes, as if they were born with them. Knight Sorrow watched while thinking. Then he returned to the command tent of the 9 regions world camp and reported the situation. This matter is still not easy to handle. The Dark King 9 soul clone is definitely very strong, said Long Xianqing. Knight Sorrow then explained the situation of the blood guards. There are runes on their faces. What kind of runes? Asked Xian Wenqiu. It seems to be the same as the runes on Heavenly Underworld Saint's arm. But they have a very terrifying aura, said Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow, bring me over to take a look. I hope they aren't cultivating the blood diagram treasured tome, said Heavenly Underworld Saint. Knight Sorrow then brought Heavenly Underworld Saint to take a look. The 2 of them then brought back some bad news. Heavenly Underworld Saint's guess had been correct. Darkness Island's inheritance was the Darkness Treasured Tome, and the Blood Diagram Treasured Tome also existed. The blood diagram treasured tome was used to train death warriors. Death warriors who cultivated the blood diagram treasured tome were extremely powerful, and they could self-detonate. Because of their special cultivation technique, their self-detonation was several times stronger than others at the same level. This Dark King 9 doesn't have any intention of retreating. He wants to fight to the death with us, said Long Xianxing. They're not easy to deal with. Most of those blood diagram death warriors are high level and peak venerables. A few of their leaders are saints. If we want to fight, we'll have to pay a huge price. That's not something I want to see, said Night Sorrow. The situation is in our hands now. Commander, take your time to think of a way. We're not in a hurry anyway, said Jun Xuanji. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this matter needed to be carefully considered. The enemy's death warriors were prepared for battle. Moreover, Dark King 9 had a clone, which was equivalent to having another peak Saint King. If they wanted to fight, the 9-domain world would have to pay a huge price. After returning to his tent, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and came up with a feasible plan. They would continue to harass the Netherworld and use this tactic to lower the overall strength of the Netherworld. You can read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 885. Night Sorrow didn't tell anyone. He left the tent and placed a teleportation crystal on the teleportation array. Then, he used a spatial crack to enter the chaotic space. Blue. Night Sorrow first investigated the Netherworld camp. He wanted to find a chance to kill Ji Yuhao, but he found that Ji Yuhao was in a tent not far from 9 Nether King. There were saints guarding it, so he couldn't do it. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow didn't stop and flew away. This time, he flew hundreds of miles. Night Sorrow tore space and arrived in the real world. After flying for 300,000 miles, Night Sorrow started to set up a teleportation array. After he was done, he inserted a teleportation crystal into the teleportation array and set up an illusion array and a killing array. Night Sorrow set up the teleportation array. After the illusion array and killing array were broken, the teleportation array would be destroyed. There would be no possibility of it being trapped by the enemy. After that, Night Sorrow flew for a while and set up another teleportation array. Then, he returned to the teleportation array. Seeing Night Sorrow come out of the teleportation array, Tai Shu Yen, Lu Qin, and Jun Xuanji, who were patrolling the camp, were stunned. You went out to set up a teleportation array. Seems like you have another idea, Jun Xuanji said. War requires patience, resources, and people's hearts. If we can fight our way in, why not? We want their resources, and we want to destroy their stability, Night Sorrow said. This move of yours is enough to make them helpless, Jun Xuanji said. Night Sorrow smiled. He didn't have any good ideas at the moment, so this was the only thing he could do. Also, he planned to think of a way to solve Ji Yuhao's problem. Just as Night Sorrow was thinking about how to solve it, Lin Yuandao appeared. He wanted Night Sorrow to take him through the 1,000 derivation killing array. He sent Lan Yuxuan to inquire about Ji Yu's family. At this time, Lan Yuxuan crushed his messaging crystal. Night Sorrow took Lin Yuandao to see Lan Yuxuan. Lan Yuxuan brought a man. Lord K. Lord, this is our spy. However, he only knows which island the central state mansion is on and where the entrance is. However, he doesn't have the qualifications to enter the central state mansion. Lan Yuxuan reported. After that, the spy explained the situation. The central state prefecture was surrounded by formations, and it would be very difficult to enter without a map. This informant was a member of Ji Yu family. His parents were sacrificed in the power struggle of Ji Yu family. With the secret support of Tianji Tower, he had become one of Ji Yu family's key disciples. That was why he was brought to the island where Zhongzhou prefecture was located. However, he was only allowed to stay on the island, and was not qualified to enter Zhongzhou Prefecture. Knight Sorrow, I'll take care of this. However, I'll have to bring Black Entropy with me. After all, there's a formation there. Black Entropy is a formation grandmaster. He might need to break the formation, Lin Yuandao said. Bring more people. We have to guard against Ji Yu Haitian, Knight Sorrow said. Then I'll bring Chief Guardian Guoxiao over. Lin Yuandao nodded. The Central State Mansion was a big matter. He had to take it seriously. Knight Sorrow also sent Guoxiao and Black Entropy out of the formation. After sending them out of the space tunnel, he asked them to take care of this matter. After that, Knight Sorrow returned to his tent and told Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, Aoi, and Xueshi about this matter. This is a good thing. The problem of Ji Yu family has been solved. Only Ji Yuhao is left. He won't be able to cause any trouble, Sikong Chuyu said. I have to find a way to kill Ji Yuhao, Knight Sorrow said. The problem now is that Ji Yuhao is always by Nine Yin Dark Lord's side. We can't do anything to him, Xueshi said. I'll ask Long Xianqing and Saint Xian if they have any good ideas, Knight Sorrow said as he walked towards the command tent. Other than guiding Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing in their cultivation, Long Xianqing spent most of his time in the command tent. When Knight Sorrow arrived, there were many people in the tent. Then, Knight Sorrow told them about his idea of killing Ji Yuhao. The problem lies in the fact that the Nine Yin Hell King and her doppelganger are both very strong. If we rush out, she will be on guard. With the addition of the Seven Fiend King, our chances of success are not high. Long Xianqing said. Seniors, this is what I'm thinking. I can use the space crack to directly enter Ji Yuhao's tent. After I break the space crack again, any of you can instantly kill him or capture him into the space crack, Knight Sorrow said. Okay, we'll do it in the space crack. I'll be responsible for capturing him. Saint Xian will be responsible for blocking the reinforcements. Knight Sorrow, you'll be responsible for bringing us there and back, Long Xianqing said. Then it's decided. We'll go now. Knight Sorrow did not want Ji Yuhao to live at all. The main reason was that Ji Yuhao was a big trouble. Reading Novel 3, Knight Sorrow tore the space apart and brought Long Xianqing and Xian Wenxiu into the space crack. In the space crack, they shuttled towards the Netherworld's camp. Knight Sorrow's soul power passed through the space crack and found the location of Ji Yuhao's tent. After entering the tent, Knight Sorrow's bloodline talent burst out and tore the space apart. Then, he used his realm to prevent the space crack from closing. Long Xianqing used the space crack to trap Ji Yuhao. While killing him, he pulled him into the space crack. It didn't matter if it was killing or pulling, as long as he could do one thing. Xian Wenxiu took out his high-grade saint treasure and started to defend. When Nine Yin Dark King and Seven Fiends King arrived, Ji Yuhao was already pulled into the space crack by Long Xianqing. Xian Wenxiu kept his saint treasure. Then, he stretched out his arm and flattened the space crack. It was easy for cultivators to stabilize and flatten the space crack. The difficulty was that they couldn't tear the space apart. After the space was flattened, Knight Sorrow brought Long Xianqing and Xian Wenxiu back to the Nine Regions World's camp. Then, they tore the space apart and returned to the real world. At this time, Ji Yuhao only had half of his life left. Knight Sorrow waved his hand and shattered his dantian and legs. He didn't kill him because Knight Sorrow was worried that something might happen in the Central State Prefecture. Knight Sorrow, you will die a horrible death. Ji Yuhao cursed as he lay on the ground. Even if I die a horrible death, I will kill you. Let's see how long you can live. Martial Uncle Granduncle gave him the life spirit liquid. We can't let him die. Wait for the news from Lord Quebec. If we successfully take down the Central State Prefecture, we will kill him. Night Sorrow waved his hand and knocked out Ji Yuhao's few teeth, not giving him the chance to bite his tongue and commit suicide. Leave him to me. Before it's time to die, he can't die even if he wants to. Hua Haining directly fed Ji Yuhao a pill. Then, Ji Yuhao stopped moving. What pill is that? Night Sorrow asked. Paralysis pill. Without the antidote, he won't be able to move. He won't be able to commit suicide. Hua Haining said. Okay, then we will wait for news from Lord Quebec. I will go and remove the formation at the entrance of the space tunnel. Otherwise, it will be inconvenient for our own people to come in and out. However, Marshal Uncle Granduncle, King Yun, you have to arrange some guards. If they are not absolutely reliable, they cannot come. Night Sorrow felt more at ease. Capturing Ji Yuhao was equivalent to eliminating a hidden danger. At this time, Nine Dark King looked at the space tunnel and narrowed his eyes, thinking. And, what about the health benefits? What about the energy pills? 10 times a day. What about the Myriad Dao Ascension? Chapter 886. Nine King, we're too passive. They have spatial cultivators, so we can't defend against them. Search Rotten Book Bar and read new chapters, said Seven Fiends King. There's still a big problem. If they can teleport here, then they can set up a teleportation formation. Nine King also had a headache because they couldn't defend against them. Nine King, how about this? We'll gather all the nether beasts in the nether realm's Beast King Sea. We'll fill the area with nether beasts. As long as they teleport, we'll know. Seven Fiends King spoke his thoughts. You're right. Also, this king is worried that their teleportation formation is here. We have to get rid of it. If they occupy the spatial channel, we'll be too passive in this war. The 5 puppet kings and the 6 soul kings have died. This is directly related to this king's decision. Nine King sighed. After being attacked by the 9-domain world, Nine King was still affected. His aura wasn't as strong as before. Nine King, this has nothing to do with your arrangements. They are too cunning. It can be said that they are more prepared than us. Now, I will go and gather the nether beasts. After Seven Fiends King finished speaking, he left the spatial tunnel to make arrangements. Night Sorrow rested for a day before returning to the command tent. What's the plan? Shang Luo asked. It's like this. A while ago, I set up another teleportation array. Now, we can still fight for resources and harass them. We won't let them have a good time, but I'll have to trouble you seniors again, Yishan said. Don't talk about trouble. If you have an order, just give it. You're the commander, and we're just following orders, said Long Xianxing. Let's do it the same way as last time. We'll split into 2 groups. Just like last time, we'll keep an eye on Hades 9 Yin's main body and clone. It doesn't matter if one of them goes missing, but if both of them go missing at the same time, we'll crush the messaging crystal and the 2 groups will retreat. When they return, we'll continue to kill. They won't be able to attend to one and lose sight of the other, Yi Saro said. This method is really useful. No matter how many times we use it, it's almost unbreakable, said Ciel Anjun. Our safety is much lower this time. After all, the only one who can threaten our 2 teams is the King of Nine Yin, and she can't split herself, Night Sorrow said. Soon after, Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu led their men and left. Yi Linghuan and Yi Wuyo also followed them. Night Sorrow then arranged for Tai Shu Yan, Lu Qin, Jun Xuanji and Xueshi to enter the array formation. The 4 of them could take turns to observe the situation on the other side. Xueshi could communicate with him if something happened. Now, it was very difficult to enter the array formation to monitor the situation. In the past, when there was only one heavenly cycle array, Black Shang could still bring the array formation masters to patrol the area. Now that the two composite arrays were combined, other than Night Sorrow, no one else could enter because it was too complicated. After making the necessary arrangements, Night Sorrow entered the 73rd floor of the Spacetime Pagoda and began cultivating. The Pagoda of Time and Space could assist Night Sorrow in his cultivation of true energy and soul strength. The Pagoda of Time and Space could also assist him in the cultivation of his innate bloodline power. The only thing he lacked was the energy he could use to cultivate his body. The Spacetime Pagoda could provide the power of time, but it could only increase his body's attribute power. As for the increase in energy, Little Kong could not help Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's body had reached the Golden Body realm. Ordinary resources were useless. Night Sorrow did not have the time to find the blood essence of the four-clawed silver dragon. Currently, he could only use the life spirit fluid. Fortunately, he had obtained the life spirit fluid twice, so he had a lot of it. Night Sorrow cultivated, and so did the others. As for the management of the 9 regions world's troops, Yun Tianlong was in charge. In addition, there were other elders from the Commander-in-Chief's residence helping Yun Tianlong. As the days slipped by, Night Sorrow cultivated peacefully. No one disturbed Night Sorrow unless there was a big problem. Even if there was a problem, Yun Tianlong would gather the people from the Commander-in-Chief's residence to discuss it. They would not disturb Night Sorrow's cultivation. In the blink of an eye, Night Sorrow had been cultivating for 1.5 months. His true energy cultivation and the myriad Daos treasured tomes cultivation had improved greatly. However, he heard Little Kong's call. The Spacetime Pagoda stood beside the spatial tunnel. If someone shouted, Night Sorrow would know. Perhaps Night Sorrow, who was in a meditative state, would not hear it. However, the Spacetime Pagoda had an item spirit. Little Kong would notify Night Sorrow. After leaving the Spacetime Pagoda, Night Sorrow saw Lin Yuandao. Lin Yuandao had returned with Guo Shao and Lan Yuxuan. How was it? Night Sorrow asked. The hidden danger of the Gu family was completely dealt with. I also killed Su Mu. He is not even a venerable now. There is no need for you to kill him personally, Lin Yuandao said. Su Mu was not qualified to be Night Sorrow's opponent. Therefore, he had killed him directly. There is no need to pay attention to him. Taking down the Central Province Prefecture has given us a place to retreat. This is a good thing. There is no need for Gu Hao to stay, Night Sorrow said. Hua Haining, who had come to greet Lin Yuandao after knowing that he had returned, turned and left. Night Sorrow did not need to say anything. Everyone knew what to do. Next, Night Sorrow went to the formation and met with Taishu Yen, Lu Qin, Jun Xuanji, and Xue Ji. That 9 Nether monarch is restless. However, she did not leave. She should know that we attacked the Nether realm. She might be waiting for something, Xueshi said. 7 Fiends monarch is not here. She really does not dare to leave. She knows that as soon as she leaves, we will attack this place. She knows very well how heavy their losses were last time. Therefore, she cannot bear it anymore, Night Sorrow said. But she can't just watch our 2 teams destroy this place, Jun Xuanji said. No one will just watch. Therefore, there must be a plan. We just need to force them to use their trump cards. When they lose their trump cards, all they can do is take a beating, Night Sorrow said. Then, if you were them, what would you do? Jun Xuanji asked. There is no good way. At most, we would send out demonic beasts and low-level cultivators to sweep the teleportation formation. Then, we would gather demonic beasts and gather them in the surrounding thousands of li. As long as someone who can use spatial travel appears, we would know immediately. This way, we can stabilize the situation. However, it is still a temporary solution, Knight Sorrow said. The main reason is that our Lord Commander's first move is very sharp. He has destroyed all their advantages, Tai Shu Yen said. At present, they are powerless to reverse the situation. Of course, we don't know if they have any trump cards. However, we do know that as long as we can occupy this spatial passage, we can fight however we want, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. That is the truth. Then, there is the battle of harassment and the battle of resources. This is the most troublesome part, Jun Xuanji said. Commander, have you thought about the final outcome of the battle? Lu Qin asked. You can read Myriad Dao Becomes a God for free. Chapter 887. Knight Sorrow entered the command tent and sat down on the main seat. Blue, one transportation formation has been destroyed. That's a big deal. Long Xianqing and Saint Declaring won't be in danger. Xiao Lanjun looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. It's not a big problem. Aside from the 9 Nether King and her clone, the others won't be able to threaten the safety of the two groups. As for setting up an ambush, my father and grandfather can use space. Ordinary ambushes won't work on them. Knight Sorrow said. You're right. However, the number of nether beasts and demon beasts they brought out is truly terrifying. Xiao Lanjun said. Then I'll go kill them. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment. How are you going to kill so many? Tai Shu Yen asked. It's very simple. I'll just use poison. I have some poison water poison smoke refined by Elder Hua. I'll just throw it at the beasts. In any case, I have nothing to do right now. Knight Sorrow smiled. Then be careful. Lu Qin said worriedly. It's nothing. Also, continue to pay attention to the 9 Nether King. If the last transportation formation is destroyed, just crush my crystal, Knight Sorrow said. But if that transportation formation is destroyed, how are you going to come back? Yu Qing asked. It won't be a problem. I have this crystal in my hand. I can set up a transportation formation and come back at any time. Knight Sorrow smiled. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the others smiled and nodded. In this kind of situation, it would be too difficult for anyone to stop Knight Sorrow. Aside from Tianyu, Knight Sorrow teleported everyone out of the spatial treasure pagoda. Then, he sat on the teleportation array and left the spatial tunnel. After leaving the transportation formation, Knight Sorrow began to fly. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, Knight Sorrow brought Tianyu out of the pagoda and controlled Tianyu to fly. At the same time, he began to throw poison bottles at the demon beasts and nether beasts. After flying alternately with Tianyu for over 10 days, Knight Sorrow released all the poison bottles in his hand. Only then did he return to the location where he had set up the transportation formation and teleported back to the spatial channel. On the second day after Knight Sorrow returned to the Nether Realm, a new situation appeared. A thick black fog had appeared outside the formation. Knight Sorrow and the others were unable to investigate it because the black fog contained a very dense nether energy. It was extremely poisonous and would harm even the soul. Knight Sorrow immediately asked Tai Shu Yen to crush Long Xianqing and Xian Wenqiu's messaging crystal. Knight Sorrow wasn't worried about whether Long Xianqing, Xian Wenqiu, and the others would be able to teleport back. This was because they had teleported back and forth twice before the battle. The location of the transportation formation was marked on the map. Even if they were unlucky, they could just go to the second transportation formation after arriving at the first one. The two ambushing teams might not be a match for the 9 Nether King, but it wouldn't be a problem for them to escape. Moreover, the two teams had rich combat experience. When returning to the transportation formation, they would be very careful. The possibility of being ambushed was almost zero. Night Sorrow stood outside the formation and paid attention to it, but he couldn't see anything. After pondering for a moment, Night Sorrow tore through space and went to the Netherrealm camp to investigate. After entering the chaotic space and passing through the formation, Night Sorrow discovered a problem. The black nether energy was seeping into the chaotic space. With the power of laws protecting his body, Night Sorrow discovered that the power of laws of nothingness was also greatly consumed. After investigating, Night Sorrow also discovered something. There were no people in the original position of the Netherrealm camp. Instead, there were many ancient trees that were emitting a dense black energy. After probing for a bit, Night Sorrow's soul power had been corroded, and he had consumed a great deal of it. Furthermore, Night Sorrow could no longer stay in the chaotic streams of space because the chaotic streams of space also contained this kind of energy. After returning to the 9-domain world camp, Night Sorrow endured the discomfort and inspected the situation of the formation. Fortunately, with the isolation of the Great Cosmic Array, this kind of black nether energy was blocked outside the formation. In other words, the Great Cosmic Array was a safe distance away from the entrance of the spatial passage. I went to investigate. This kind of energy was released by some ancient trees. They have also retreated from this area. Night Sorrow said. Very powerful, to be able to obtain such a strange poisonous species. How do we deal with it now? Xia Longjun asked. Wait for Long Xianqing and the others to come back. Also, I don't have any more teleportation crystals. Are there teleportation crystals among the battle resources? I will go and bury some now. Otherwise, it will be difficult to pass through their blockade in the future. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said. Then, Tai Shu Yen handed over 7 or 8 teleportation crystals to Night Sorrow. Everyone knew that Night Sorrow had recently consumed a lot of teleportation crystals. Night Sorrow cut out the main body of the largest teleportation crystal. After making some splits, he arranged a teleportation array. After embedding the main body, he also embedded 7 splits of the teleportation crystals in his hand. Then, he nodded to everyone and sat on the first teleportation array to leave the spatial passage. After coming out of the only teleportation array that had not been discovered, Night Sorrow began to fly and began to lay down the groundwork. Every tens of thousands of li, or even hundreds of thousands of li, Night Sorrow would set up a teleportation array in a cave, in a pit, inside a towering ancient tree, and so on. Moreover, he would insert the splits of the teleportation crystals that he had just set up at the spatial passage. In other words, these teleportation arrays could be activated now. Of course, other than Night Sorrow, no one else would be able to use them because he had arranged 1,000 development illusionary array around the teleportation arrays. It was an array formation that no one else could break except him. Perhaps they could use force to remove it, but the teleportation array would also be destroyed at the same time. After arranging the teleportation crystals in his hand into a teleportation array, Night Sorrow teleported back to the spatial passage. City Lord Tai Shu, send someone to guard it. The 7 teleportation crystals above are all lit up, which means that all 7 teleportation arrays can be used. If there is an extinguished one, tell me. If they have the ability, they can dismantle all 7 of them. Night Sorrow said to Tai Shu Yen, who had walked over. Tai Shu Yen nodded and arranged for someone to guard the teleportation array. Entering the tent, Night Sorrow noticed that Long Xianqing and the others still hadn't returned. He was a bit worried because it had been a while since the news had been sent. Furthermore, spatial travel was no longer as smooth as before. That black netherworld chi had even seeped into the spatial barrier. Even if Yi Wuyo and Yi Linghuan were to break through space, it would be extremely difficult for them to travel through it. Just as Night Sorrow was considering whether or not he should go out to help, Long Xianqing and the others returned. It was the 2 groups that had returned together. What's going on? That 9E Nether King isn't here. Then let's kill our way over, said Long Xianxing. Knight Sorrow shook his head. Right now, the most important thing was how to deal with the ancient Netherworld tree. After that, Knight Sorrow explained the situation to everyone. He told them about the predicament they were in. This move is pretty vicious. It's a double-edged sword. Even their people are afraid. I wonder how they got their hands on it, said Long Xianxing. You can read Myriad Daos Become Gods for free. Chapter 888. Let's stabilize the situation first, then figure out how to break it. Both teams are doing well, said Knight Sorrow. Blue Emperor, it's going well. Netherrealm will need a long time to recover, said Long Xianxing. We don't have anything to worry about. Our formation is a natural barrier. They won't be able to break in. In addition, the Great Cosmic Formation has the ability to isolate energy. The nether poison gas won't be able to invade. Knight Sorrow was still very confident because he still had the initiative. Netherrealm was still in a defensive state. At this time, the Netherrealm's camp had retreated 100 miles. There was no dark nether gas. Inside the command tent, Nine Dark King was talking to an old man. The old man was wearing a black robe with black tree patterns, but his face was incomparably ruddy. Eighth Hell King, isn't your lifespan coming to an end? What's going on? Asked Nine Dark King. After sensing that I didn't have much time left in my lifespan, I went to the underworld tree ocean, intending to leave my body there and reincarnate. However, I didn't expect that I would encounter a special opportunity and fuse with an ancient underworld tree. The fusion was successful not long ago. I didn't expect such a situation to occur in the underworld realm, said the old man, who was the eighth Hell King. Then, Nine Dark King explained the current predicament. Eighth Hell King, if we don't break their formation now, we won't be able to break in, said Nine Dark King. This king brought a lot of netherworld trees. Perhaps it's time for the Medicine Valley to rise, said Long Xianxing. Knight Sorrow's rise has brought an opportunity for the Medicine Valley. Moreover, they are a group of people who are eager to improve themselves. The Medicine Valley will become a first-rate force in the 9 regions in the future. It's just a matter of time, said Wu Lingfei. If Wu Lingfei had started to pay attention to the Medicine Valley because of Knight Sorrow, then the performance of the Medicine Valley's people had also made her think highly of them. Yes, it can be said that the future of this sect is limitless. Long Xianxing nodded his head. He also hoped to see the rise of the Eastern Profound Domain. Senior Long Xianxing, Knight Sorrow wants to set up a cultivator's palace. It's to let the talented children of the 9 regions world and the Profound Mysteries world enter. I want to tell him that this cultivator's palace will be set up in our Eastern Profound Domain. Wu Lingfei said. That's a good idea. However, there will definitely be people who will object to it. You might as well not bring it up and just tell Knight Sorrow about it directly. Once he makes the decision, those fellows can only stare at it helplessly. Long Xianxing chuckled. Wu Lingfei smiled and nodded. She understood what Long Xianxing meant. In fact, she also had the same idea. She was just asking for Long Xianxing's opinion. As long as one had foresight, they would understand that this cultivator's palace would definitely be a force that could influence the 9-domain world and the Profound Mysteries realm in the future. The location of its establishment was very important. If it was established in the Eastern Profound Domain, it would only be beneficial to the Eastern Profound Domain in the future. No matter who suggested it, there would be objections. But since Knight Sorrow had spoken, the others could only agree. The first free reading of Myriad Daos Become Gods. Chapter 889. After cultivating in the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda for 3 months, Night Sorrow stood up, stretched his neck, and flashed out of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Night Sorrow first entered the formation to patrol, then frowned. He discovered that the ancient tree of the Netherworld was growing very quickly. Its roots were already extending towards the Great Cycle Formation. After having the patrolling formation masters leave, Night Sorrow waved his hand and threw out spirit stones, activating the 1000 Development Illusionary Formation. The 1000 Development Illusionary Formation targeted consciousness, thoughts, and souls. As long as one had consciousness or thoughts, they would be affected. Since the ancient tree of the Netherworld had already gained sentience, Night Sorrow activated the 1000 Development Illusionary Formation. The formation didn't only target the ground, but also the air and underground. Otherwise, flying and digging holes could break the formation. The formation wasn't that important and difficult to break. Therefore, if the ancient tree of the Netherworld wanted to break the formation by growing underground, it would also be affected by the 1000 Development Illusionary Formation. After coming out of the formation, Night Sorrow didn't go to the command tent because he didn't have any orders to give. Just as Night Sorrow was wondering if he should let Sikong Chuyu and the others out for some fresh air, Wu Lingfei came to Night Sorrow's tent. "Aunt Fei, you're here. Have a seat. I was just about to make some tea." Night Sorrow greeted her with a smile. "The commander personally made tea. Aunt Fei's treatment is quite good." Wu Lingfei smiled and found a place to sit. "Don't mention the commander. Even if I become a sage king or heavenly king, I'll still make tea for you," Night Sorrow said as he made tea. "Aunt Fei likes to hear that. Have some tea first. Aunt Fei will bring you to meet a few people. Also, I have some things to discuss with you," Wu Lingfei said. Night Sorrow nodded. He didn't ask what it was. He knew that Wu Lingfei would tell him what she needed to tell him. She had her reasons for not telling him now. After drinking tea, Wu Lingfei brought Night Sorrow to the Eastern Xian region's camp and entered the command tent. Lei Hua and Kun Nan stood up and bowed. Then, they invited Wu Lingfei and Night Sorrow to sit inside. After asking around, concubine Wu Lingfei asked Lei Hua to bring the people of Medicine Valley to the main tent. "Someone from the Medicine Valley is here." "That's not right. If I don't go and pick them up, they won't be able to pass through that spatial passageway." Night Sorrow thought for a moment and figured out the problem. Due to the maturation of Dongshuan's origin and the strengthening of Eastern Xian's laws, the supreme river space was suppressed. "That's why they were able to enter," said Wu Lingfei. "Aunt Fei is already a 3-star saint." "Congratulations, Aunt Fei." At this moment, Night Sorrow noticed Wu Lingfei's cultivation. He stood up and cupped his hands towards Wu Lingfei. He also remembered that he hadn't gone to pick up Lin Yuandao and the others a few days ago. Lin Yuandao, Lan Yushuan and Xia Lanjun had also passed through the spatial channel. "Don't be so courteous. This is what Dongshuan's origin gave me," Wu Lingfei said with a smile. At this time, Lei Hua brought the 3 venerables of the Medicine Valley into the command tent. After Yu Yang Yu and the other 2 bowed to Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow also bowed to them. After Wu Lingfei waved her hand, everyone took their seats. "Night Sorrow, you're a saint now." Yu Yang Yu looked at Night Sorrow and asked. "I entered the saint realm some time ago. Because I had many things to do, I didn't have time to report to you, Master," said Night Sorrow. "You have many things to do. You don't have to worry about me. Just go back to the Medicine Valley more often when you have time," said Yu Yang Yu with a shake of his head. "Master's kindness is greater than the heavens. This disciple dares not," said Night Sorrow as he stood up and bowed after hearing Yu Yang Yu's words. "Night Sorrow, what are you doing? Your path is outside. Don't be hindered by me and the Medicine Valley." Yu Yang Yu helped Night Sorrow up and asked Night Sorrow to sit down before he sat down. The 8-dragon cauldron has already informed us of this matter. Our Medicine Valley has also carried out a sacrifice to the heavens and ancestors. You've done well. The first elder nodded at Night Sorrow. The development of the Medicine Valley is not easy. I used to stay in seclusion in the Ice Snow Mountain all year round and didn't know much about the Medicine Valley. Now that the Medicine Valley has its inheritance, there won't be any problems with its future development. Not to mention anything else, just the reputation of the commander of 2 worlds, Night Sorrow, will attract many talents, said Wu Lingfei with a smile. It's not that serious, said Night Sorrow with a smile. It's that serious. Last year, before you became the commander, our Medicine Valley's disciple recruitment ceremony was filled with a sea of people. They all came because of Night Sorrow's name. Hua Yunping nodded seriously. Night Sorrow, Aunt Fei has something to tell you. It's about the establishment of the Cultivator's Palace. Wu Lingfei said what she had been wanting to say for a long time. Aunt Fei, you're talking about the establishment of the Cultivator's Palace of 2 worlds with my resources? Asked Night Sorrow. Yes, Aunt Fei wants to see if the Cultivator's Palace can be established in the Eastern Profound Domain, said Wu Lingfei with a smile. Of course. Then let's get started a little later. We can directly establish the headquarters in the Eastern Profound Domain. The name Cultivator's Palace is a little bad, said Night Sorrow. After that, everyone discussed and felt that it would be great if the Cultivator's Palace could produce more saints. Thus, they named it the Saint Hall with great expectations. Then Aunt Fei will arrange it. If anyone from the commander's manor objects, Aunt Fei will say it was your idea, said Wu Lingfei with a smile. They're not satisfied, said I. This king has been studying formations recently. His cultivation in formations has already reached the Grandmaster level. Let's study some more formations and see if there's any way to break them, said the 9E Nether King. Everyone, let's think of a way. This king will trap this place to death. Other than that, we have to hurry up with the matter of their transportation formations, said the 8 Hell Kings. Night Sorrow was calmly cultivating in the Spacetime Pagoda. When he had time, he would go and get some essence blood from the 4-clawed silver dragon. He didn't want to use up the life spirit elixir. He wanted to read Myriad Daos Become a God for free. Chapter 890. After cultivating for a month, Night Sorrow went to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to rest. What are you thinking about? You look like you have a lot on your mind. Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Last time, you said there are 4-clawed silver dragons behind the Silver Demon Villa. How long will it take to get there? Night Sorrow asked. It's hard to say. You need 4-clawed silver dragon's essence blood, right? I'll go there for you. Xueshi said. That's fine. But just find the dead 4-clawed silver dragons and get some essence blood. There's no need to kill them for what I need. Night Sorrow said. You're overthinking it. 4-clawed silver dragons love to kill. They're also a race that commits all sorts of evil. They often capture human women. It's a heinous crime. Killing them isn't too much. Xueshi naturally knew what Night Sorrow was thinking. He just didn't want to kill. Then do as you see fit. Be careful. Night Sorrow said. Then, Night Sorrow let Xueshi out of the Spacetime Pagoda and asked her to help him. After sending Xueshi off, Night Sorrow went to check on the formation again. Seeing that it was very stable, he returned to the Spacetime Pagoda to cultivate. Half a year passed in the blink of an eye. Of course, only 2 months had passed in the real world. With the Spacetime Pagoda's 3 times acceleration and enough energy, Night Sorrow's cultivation rapidly increased. Now, he was not far from the peak of the 1-star Saint realm. With the help of the myriad Daos tome and the life spirit liquid, he was also approaching the peak of the one-star golden body realm. The improvement of his soul power was also very obvious. His divine sea, which was originally empty except for the god orb, was now surrounded by soul power in the form of purple mist. In addition, the sixth bloodline talent under his dragon bones was also becoming more and more loose. He was not far from completely activating it. Night Sorrow came out of seclusion this time because he felt the vibration of the snow dusk god orb. Outside the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow saw Xuexi. How was it? Did it go well? It went smoothly. They were the unlucky ones. I hadn't even reached their territory when they appeared and grabbed me, saying that they wanted to offer me to their king. You know what happened in the end, Xuexi said with a smile. That's good. Thank you for your hard work. I'll go check on the array before heading to the Supreme River Dimension to catch a beast. We'll have some barbecue and some wine, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Night Sorrow looked inside the array and found that the ancient tree of the Netherworld was growing very quickly. Although it could not invade the array, it had already surrounded the periphery of the array. However, Night Sorrow did not mind. It would be fine as long as he did not break the array. In addition, Night Sorrow was also thinking about how to deal with the ancient Netherworld tree. He did not know what the ancient Netherworld tree was afraid of, but it definitely had a weakness. After exiting the array, Night Sorrow called for his parents. He then brought the pagoda of time and space to the god-slaying team's camp. After transferring Sikong Chuyu and the others out, Night Sorrow got Tianyu to catch a beast. Then, he went to Night Moon Dynasty to bring Papa Gu and Yin Yanxiao over. It had been a long time since he had eaten barbecue and wine. Night Sorrow ate very comfortably. After they were done eating, Yishang led his men out of the god-slaying team's campsite. Everyone went back to cultivating. Xuexi also gave the silver dragon blood essence to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow arranged everyone's cultivation before entering the 73rd floor of the Pagoda of Time and Space to begin cultivating. The silver dragon was a venerable level demon beast. When its blood essence left its body, it would become a blood crystal. Night Sorrow held the silver dragon blood crystal and began cultivating by absorbing the energy within it. At the same time, he was constantly trying to break through the sixth bloodline energy point. Within the command tent, Xiao Longjun looked at Yi Wuyo. After thinking for a moment, she said, Night Sorrow's cultivation base is rising too quickly. You need to persuade him not to ruin his foundation. It shouldn't be a problem. The Pagoda of Time and Space is a sage treasure. It has the ability to accelerate time. Our time in the real world might be different from the time he cultivates, Yi Wuyo said. So that's how it is. It seems I've been worrying for nothing. Xiao Longjun nodded after hearing Yi Wuyo's words. Yi Shang had been working hard on his cultivation. As time passed, his cultivation level increased rapidly. After a month, Night Sorrow's true energy cultivation base was on the verge of a breakthrough. However, he didn't break through. He was suppressing it. It was the same for his myriad Daos treasured cannon. On this day, Lei Hui came to Wu Lingfei's tent and told her that he had finished cultivating in the Sacred Hall's headquarters. Wu Lingfei nodded. She was waiting for Night Sorrow to come out of seclusion. If Night Sorrow brought it up, this matter could be put on the table. Since his true energy cultivation base and myriad Daos treasured cannon cultivation base couldn't increase, Night Sorrow stabilized his cultivation base. At the same time, he worked hard to break through the bloodline energy points. After a few days of hard work, gray streaks of energy appeared on Night Sorrow's body. Spatial law power. Night Sorrow knew that it was spatial law power. This situation made him very happy. He had the power of law, so he could comprehend it at any time in the future. The sixth spatial energy point was very big and could store a lot of spatial energy. This made Yi Shang even happier than leveling up or advancing. This meant that there was a lot of room for improvement. After sensing his body, Knight Sorrow came out of seclusion. He also wanted to see the situation of the formation. He didn't want his opponent to have any trump cards that he didn't know. After coming out of the formation, Knight Sorrow went to the command tent. It had been a long time since he had seen the saints, so he should pay his respects. There were many people in the command tent. Seeing Knight Sorrow come in, they were all shocked because Knight Sorrow's body was filled with spatial law power. Shang, you've unlocked your 6th bloodline energy point. Yi Linghuan looked at Knight Sorrow excitedly. Yes, I just unlocked it. Now I have to continue cultivating. Knight Sorrow walked to the empty main seat and sat down. Just do it steadily. Yi Linghuan was still very excited. As for the ancient netherworld tree, I think it's afraid of fire. Let's see if we can find a strange flame. Knight Sorrow looked at the group of people and asked. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. Also, Commander, the sacred hall you arranged has been completed. You can make the next arrangements, said Wu Lingfei. What sacred hall? Jun Xuanji asked. Didn't we talk about finding a place to cultivate for the talented children of the 2 realms who have no one to take care of them? I arranged for Auntie Fei to take care of this matter. It's already been arranged. I hope that this cultivator's palace will produce more saints, so it's called the Holy Hall, said Yi Shang. Commander, you really put a lot of effort into this matter. Xian Wenxiu and the others cupped their hands at Knight Sorrow. They didn't care where the sacred hall was. As long as it could give the children of the profound mysteries realm a chance, they would be happy. At this moment, many people looked at Wu Lingfei enviously. Because the sacred hall was in the eastern Xian region, it would definitely be good for the future development of the eastern Xian region. Very good. Commander, you must have a plan for the sacred hall's development and implementation, said Long Xianxing. He was very happy that this matter had been put on the agenda so quickly. You can read Myriad Dao Ascension for free. Chapter 891. Then I'll tell you what I think. The Sacred Hall is mainly divided into 3 parts. The first part is the Elite Hall, which is where the gifted children will be taught and provided with uniform resources. The second part is the Ordinary Hall, which will be taught according to the general teaching methods of the sects. The third part is the Rescue Hall, which is where we will raise these children and teach them according to their aptitude. What kind of talent they have will be placed there in the future. Knight Sorrow spoke his thoughts. Very good. This is equivalent to giving them a chance. No matter how talented they are, they will be able to live well. Xian Wenqiu said. Setting up the Holy Hall in the eastern Xian region might be a little selfish on my part. After all, I grew up in the eastern Xian region, and I have special feelings for it. Knight Sorrow said. That's not a big deal. There are many teleportation channels now. It's more convenient no matter where it is. Shang Luo said. Then let's do it. Yun Tianlong said. I will provide the resources. You can send the children who are affected by the war. Knight Sorrow said. We won't cheat you. This matter will be arranged by the commander's residence. As for the people who will teach the children, we will slowly look into it. Heavenly Underworld Saint said. The other thing is to find the ultimate fire. I don't believe that the ancient netherworld tree is not afraid of fire. Let me know if there's any news. I still have to go into seclusion to make a breakthrough. I'll have to trouble you all. I'm very sorry. Knight Sorrow said apologetically. After that, Knight Sorrow returned to his tent and sorted out the resources. He kept a portion of the high-grade spirit stones and took out the rest. There were also pills. Aside from the pills above the 5th rank, he also sorted them out. At this time, Wu Lingfei and Long Xianqing came to Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow, Aunt Fei is ashamed. It's clearly our idea, but you have to take the blame. Wu Lingfei said, a little embarrassed. Aunt Fei, what are you saying? I'm just speaking from my heart. I'm from the eastern Xian region, and I have feelings for it. So, I'll be selfish this time. Night Sorrow said with a smile. This is my and the Domain Lord's idea. It's indeed not very suitable for you to take the lead. However, it doesn't matter. We are the three saints of the Eastern Profound Domain. It doesn't matter who takes the lead. Long Xianqing said. Night Sorrow then handed the resources he had sorted out to Wu Lingfei. Auntie Fei, these are some low-level resources. Use them for the construction of the Saint Hole. Wu Lingfei nodded and accepted the gift. Ultimate fire is not easy to find, Long Xianqing said. I need time, Night Sorrow said after some thought. I don't quite understand what you mean. Long Xianqing was stunned for a moment before he said. Night Sorrow then said that there was a huge lava lake in the Void Fiend space. The fire energy was very violent, but he couldn't control the Void Fiend space right now, so he couldn't bring the lava lake here. Time is also a matter of time. We can wait. As long as there's a way to break it, it's enough. That's the opportunity to change the situation. Long Xianqing nodded and said. The problem of the ancient Netherworld tree made everyone depressed. If this problem wasn't solved, the battle wouldn't be easy. Moreover, the battle of resources and harassment wouldn't be easy to carry out. If they couldn't find out the situation of the other party, they would have to bear a huge risk. Then, Long Xianqing and Wu Lingfei left. Night Sorrow entered the space-time treasure pagoda and began to cultivate. He had many cultivation problems to solve now. His Jin Qi and Myriad Daos treasured tome needed to level up, his soul power and bloodline talent needed to improve, and he also needed to comprehend the spatial laws. After sorting out his thoughts, Night Sorrow planned to level up his cultivation first. Then, he would strengthen his soul power and bloodline talent while he stabilized his cultivation base. At the same time, he would comprehend the spatial laws. Night Sorrow took 6 days to level up his Jin Qi and Myriad Daos treasured tome. Then, he began to stabilize his cultivation base and bloodline talent. At the same time, he would comprehend the spatial laws. While Night Sorrow was working hard on his cultivation, the 9 regions world and profound mysteries realm were operating the sage halls. In terms of resources, Night Sorrow took out a portion of it. It was definitely enough. As for the children to be nurtured, they mainly came from the profound mysteries realm and western nether region. As for the task of teaching the children, the 9 regions world sent out people. The cultivation of the teachers who taught Haozi in the early stages didn't need to be too high. After all, the children had never cultivated before. The difference between a sage and a severed soul stage cultivator wasn't that big. As for the 2 overseers, they were waiting for Night Sorrow's decision. One was Long Xianqing, and the other was Xian Wenxiu. Long Xianqing didn't belong to any sect, so it was suitable for him to oversee the sage halls. As for Xian Wenxiu, he wanted to see the children of the profound mysteries realm grow up smoothly, so he took the initiative to ask for something to do in the sage halls. The candidate for the hall master is Night Sorrow. Senior Long and Senior Xian Wenxiu can oversee the sage halls. Now, we need to arrange for people to work, Xia Longjun said with a smile. This problem should be discussed after Night Sorrow comes out. We can't leave the hall master aside. This matter is settled, Heavenly Underworld Saint said. The operations of the sage halls were carried out in an orderly manner. The higher-ups of the 2 worlds did their best to deal with this matter, but the hall master didn't appear. After cultivating for 3 months, Night Sorrow came out. After Night Sorrow came out, he was brought to the command tent by Seolonjun. Everyone talked about the construction of the sage halls. The children of the Profound Mysteries realm have been sent to the Profound Mysteries royal city. They can be sent directly to the Sage Hall's headquarters later, Jun Xuanji said. I've also taken a look at the Sage Hall's headquarters. There's no problem in nurturing 2,000 to 3,000 people in the early stages. The Dongxian City's city lord's mansion will be responsible for the daily expenses, Wu Lingfei said. Then, everyone talked about the matter of the Vice Hall Master and asked Knight Sorrow for his opinion. Martial Uncle Great Uncle, I'll let Sword Sovereign Northski spend more effort on the Northern Sea domain. Martial Uncle Great Uncle will take the Vice Hall Master position. Elder June, you understand the situation of the Profound Mysteries realm. You can take the Vice Hall Master position. Also, City Lord Liu will be in charge of the resources. What do you all think? Knight Sorrow glanced at everyone in the command tent and made a series of decisions. Hearing Knight Sorrow's arrangements, no one had any objections because they were very suitable. With your arrangements, there's nothing for you to do, Tai Shu Yen shook his head helplessly. Capable people should do more work. Also, all the members of the commander's mansion should visit the Sage Halls when you're free. Whether it's in terms of cultivation or morals, you have to pay attention to those children. They might be the future of our two worlds, Knight Sorrow said. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. Also, it's more stable here. Elder June, please arrange for me to go to the Profound Mysteries realm to burn incense and pay respects to those who died in the war and apologize to those who are still alive, Knight Sorrow said. Commander, there's no need for that. It will damage your reputation. Xian Wenxiu and Shang Luo stood up. Many people died in the war between our two worlds. It's impossible to say that there's no hatred in my heart. I'll resolve as much as I can. Reputation is not important. Heaven is watching what we do. Knight Sorrow waved his hand and insisted on his decision. You can read Myriad Dao Ascension for free. Chapter 892. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, everyone fell silent. What was this? This was magnanimity and breadth of mind, as well as courage. It was also a kind of comprehension that ordinary people couldn't have. A basket of books, Commander, why don't you reconsider? Prestige and prestige don't come easily. It's easy to lose a person's luck. Jun Xuanji said. That's right. It's all because of the war. It has nothing to do with a person. Tai Shu Yen also tried to persuade Knight Sorrow. I know everyone is doing this for my own good. My prestige comes from the war. If I can avoid the war, then I'd rather not have this prestige and prestige. Elder June, arrange for it to be in Profound Secret's Imperial City. The more the better. Inform me when you're done. Knight Sorrow finished speaking and left the command tent. He's stubborn. Once he's decided, it's impossible to persuade him. Wu Lingfei sighed. Everyone, don't stop this. He said that the heavens are watching. This goes straight to the heart. Some things can't be judged from the surface. Long Xianqing said. Knight Sorrow returned to his tent and brewed a pot of tea. At this time, Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing entered the tent. Son, mother and father will accompany you. Yu Qing looked at Knight Sorrow and said. She was worried that Knight Sorrow was under pressure. Okay. Thank you, mother and father. It's nothing. Everyone has to face some things. What you do, you have to bear the consequences. Knight Sorrow said. This is a man's responsibility. Yi Wuyo nodded. After staying for a while and seeing that Knight Sorrow was fine, Yi Wuyo and his wife left. Then, Knight Sorrow returned to the 73rd floor of the Spacetime Pagoda and began to cultivate and comprehend the laws of space. Everything in the nine-domain world was proceeding in an orderly manner. Night Sorrow was also cultivating peacefully. Night Sorrow cultivated for nearly a month. After 10 days in the real world, he was awakened by Shao Kong. Someone outside the Spacetime Pagoda was calling for Night Sorrow. Coming out of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda, Night Sorrow saw Jun Xuanji and another man. Jun Xuanji introduced the man to Night Sorrow. This man was the mysterious Heaven Sword sect master, Yu Feng. In addition, Night Sorrow had finished his business in the Profound Mysteries realm. In that case, I'll patrol this place first. We'll head over tomorrow. Night Sorrow nodded at Yu Feng and told him the time to go to the Profound Mysteries realm. Sect Master Yu, please go back and make the necessary arrangements, Jun Xuanji instructed Yu Feng. After bowing to Night Sorrow, Yu Feng left. He knew that this was a serious matter. If something went wrong, it would be serious. Xian Wenxiu and Shang Luo could strangle him to death. A few days ago, they had repeatedly reminded him to take care of this matter. Night Sorrow entered the array formation and inspected it. He found that the ancient netherworld tree was very ferocious. It had completely surrounded the array formation area, but it still couldn't invade the grand array. This situation made Night Sorrow feel very relieved, as long as the array formation was stable. After patrolling, Night Sorrow went to the command tent. Long Xianqing said, "We'll go with you tomorrow." Night Sorrow said, "We need someone to guard this place. I'll stay here. You guys go." Yun Tianlong expressed his willingness to stay and guard the array formation. Night Sorrow thought about it and agreed. In addition, he had Xueshi stay behind to help Yun Tianlong guard this place. He also told everyone to gather at the entrance of the spatial channel. If there was a problem with the array formation, they were to attack the ancient tree outside the spatial channel. The 1000 derivation killing formation would activate, and Xueshi would be able to contact Night Sorrow immediately. Night Sorrow spent the night in the Spacetime Pagoda with his 3 fiancées. The next day, Night Sorrow and the higher-ups of the 2 realms left the spatial channel through the transmission array. When they left the Medicine Valley spatial channel, everyone was stunned. A golden light had appeared in the sky and landed on Night Sorrow's body. Light of Virtue Max 5 at this time, there was a clear halo of light behind Night Sorrow's head. Night Sorrow, your virtue has already reached a point where it's visible. It's very rare, said Long Xianqing. There's also this golden light around my spirit sea, but it doesn't have any effect, said Night Sorrow. The effect is very strong. It can be said that in the 9 regions world, anyone who tries to harm you will be punished by the heavens, said Yi Wuyo. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that he had done a lot of good deeds for the 9 regions world, but he didn't really care about that. Following this, they continuously teleported until they reached the entrance of the Profound Mysteries realm. Wait a moment. At that moment, Yi Shenyu walked over to Yi Shan and took out a set of King's battle armor. She helped Yi Shan put it on. Don't feel too much pressure. Night Moon Dynasty will always stand behind you. Thank you, Great Aunt. Yi Shang nodded. At this moment, his heart felt warm. Following this, they teleported to the Profound Mysteries Imperial City. At this time, the Profound Mysteries Imperial City was filled with people. From the City Lord's mansion to the plaza in front of the City Lord's mansion, both sides of the street were filled with people. There was also a special group of children who were going to be sent to the Sacred Hole. Under Jun Xuanji's lead, Yi Shang walked towards the square. There was an inscription there, the war inscription, commemorating those who had died in the war. Jun Xuanji took out some incense and handed it to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow took the incense and lit it. Then he bowed to the tablet and inserted it into the cauldron. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow took off his king battle armor in front of everyone's eyes. Why is that? Night Shinhua asked in confusion. It's my fault. It has nothing to do with Night Moon, said Night Sorrow as he walked onto the stage. At this time, Xian Wenxiu and Jun Xuanji also followed Night Sorrow onto the stage. Walking onto the stage, Night Sorrow looked at the countless people from the Profound Mysteries realm. The war from before brought great harm to the Profound Mysteries realm. Many people lost their families and homes. I, Night Sorrow, am here to pay my respects to everyone. After saying this, Night Sorrow bowed. Perhaps some people might say that this was war and that I was innocent. However, I was the one who commanded the war and gave the orders, so I am guilty. I, Night Sorrow, will bear all of this. I will also do my best to erase the pain brought by this war. I hope that this will be the last time the Profound Mysteries realm and the 9 regions world will suffer. In the future, there will be no more conflicts between the 2 realms. This generation is destined to suffer. What I hope is to build a foundation of happiness and peace for the future generations, said Night Sorrow as he bowed again. At this moment, a white-haired old woman walked out with a walking stick. Some guards tried to stop her, but Night Sorrow waved his hand and forced the guards to retreat. I lost 2 sons in this war, but I also understand that as the commander of the 9 regions world, winning the war for the 9 regions world is your responsibility. I don't blame you. I just want to ask, is the Profound Mysteries realm the same as the 9 regions world in your eyes? If the Profound Mysteries realm makes things difficult for you, will the 9 regions world be willing to help? The white-haired old woman asked Night Sorrow. Yishan walked down from the high platform and bowed to the old woman. Elder, I'm sorry for the pain I've caused you. As for your questions, I'll answer them now. Download a myriad Daos become gods. Chapter 893. In my eyes, both the Profound Mysteries realm and the 9 regions world are important. If anything happens to the Profound Mysteries realm, I'll definitely stand up. I definitely will. Old lady, don't worry. I'm a man, and I have the responsibility of a man. Lan Shu. Night Sorrow said. This old lady believes that as the commander of 2 realms, for you to stand up and burn incense for those who died in battle and apologize to those who are still alive, this is your responsibility. The white-haired old lady bowed to Night Sorrow. Senior, there's no need for this. Night Sorrow helped the old lady up and arranged for her to sit down on the side. Night Sorrow then returned to the high platform. This matter wasn't over yet. Commander, Xian Wenxiu has something to say. Xian Wenxiu looked at Night Sorrow and said. Senior Xian, please. Night Sorrow took 2 steps back. Xian Wenxiu took 2 steps forward and bowed to everyone. The war was started by the Profound Mysteries realm. If there's any fault, it's the fault of the leaders of the Profound Mysteries realm. It has nothing to do with Commander Night Sorrow. The other 9 regions world, under the commander's suggestion, are now fully funding the reconstruction of the Profound Mysteries realm. Everyone has seen the current situation, so there's no need for hatred. Xian Wenxiu was a person of virtue and prestige in the Profound Mysteries realm. Many people understood why he bowed. In addition, the commander has also decided to establish a holy hall, a hall for cultivators. The children who lost their loved ones in the war can all cultivate in the holy hall. The early resources will be provided by the commander. This is equivalent to giving our children a chance in the future. As for hatred, this lord has also felt it because the Jun family was almost wiped out. However, the commander said that we live in an era of pain. It's enough if our children can be happy in the future, Jun Xuanji said. Everyone, don't worry. I will treat them as my brothers and sisters, as my own children. I will do my best to support them so that they can have a bright future. Please accept Night Sorrow's apology. Night Sorrow bowed again. As Night Sorrow bowed, everyone in the Profound Mysteries realm bowed in response to Night Sorrow. Everyone had their own thoughts and understood what war was all about. Night Sorrow was willing to stand up and bear the consequences even though he wasn't in the wrong. This earned everyone's respect, because if he wasn't in the wrong, there would be no forgiveness, only respect. The people of the Profound Mysteries realm were also very grateful. If it weren't for the support of the Nine Domains world, who knew how long it would have taken for them to recover? Just as everyone bowed, another golden light appeared in the sky and landed on Night Sorrow's body. That was the power of virtue of the Profound Mysteries realm. Night Sorrow once again talked about the complementary development policy of the two worlds and ended the meeting. Jun Xuanji invited Night Sorrow to the City Lord's mansion, but Night Sorrow didn't have the nerve to accept. After all, he had dealt a heavy blow to the Jun family. How could he have the nerve to sit there? So he directly took a teleportation array and left. The higher-ups of the Nine Domains world also followed Night Sorrow out of the Profound Mysteries realm. This matter is very satisfactory. Martial Ant, I'll have to trouble you with the construction of the Sacred Hall, Night Sorrow said to Tai Shu Yen. No problem. Also, Martial Ant doesn't understand. Why didn't you arrange something for your Aunt Fei to do? Tai Shu Yen glanced at Wu Lingfei. My Aunt Fei likes peace and quiet. She probably isn't good at these things, so I didn't make things difficult for her, Night Sorrow said with a smile. It's still Night Sorrow who understands me. Junior Martial's sister Tai Shu, don't hold me back. This isn't something I like or am good at. I don't really care about the Eastern Xian region's matters, Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Everyone smiled. They all understood Wu Lingfei's personality. She was a bit cold and didn't interact much with others. It was only when she was with Night Sorrow that she spoke casually. Normally, she didn't have much to say. After returning to the Netherworld Realm spatial channel, Night Sorrow patrolled the array formation area. After talking to everyone, he put Tianyu, Yimei, and Sikong Chuyu into the Spacetime Pagoda. Just as Night Sorrow was about to enter the Spacetime Pagoda, Xueshi came and also wanted to enter. I originally wanted to let you get some fresh air outside. You don't need it, Night Sorrow said with a smile. I also want to cultivate. I want to break through to the 7-star Saint Realm, so it's better to work hard, said Xueshi. Night Sorrow nodded and brought Xueshi to the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. After ordering a pot of tea from Xueshi, Xueshi helped Night Sorrow nourish his body. Night Sorrow then went to the 73rd floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to cultivate. Time slowly passed, and Night Sorrow's cultivation became more and more stable. His bloodline talent was also rapidly increasing. In addition, he also slowly gained a basic understanding of the laws of space. Every once in a while, Night Sorrow would come out of the Spacetime Pagoda to patrol the array formation. Then, he would continue cultivating. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed in the real world. Night Sorrow had been cultivating in the Spacetime Pagoda for 3 years. During these 3 years, Night Sorrow's cultivation had risen to the 3-star Saint Realm. His myriad Dao treasured canon cultivation had also reached the 3-star Golden Body Realm. His soul power and bloodline talent had also increased greatly. Most importantly, he had already grasped the laws of space. Compared to a year ago, Night Sorrow's strength was like the difference between heaven and earth. After grasping the laws of space, Night Sorrow's speed had reached a terrifying level. As for the situation of the war, it was still in a stalemate. The other side was unable to break through the array, and the 9 Regions World's camp was also unable to break through the ancient Netherworld tree's entanglement. Night Sorrow wasn't in a hurry. That was because the Void Fiendish Space and the Void Fate Pearl were still fusing. When he could control the Void Fiendish Space, then he would be able to control everything within the Void Fiendish Space. Destroying the ancient Netherworld tree wouldn't be a problem. Every time he came out of the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow would go to the sacred hole. That was because the current situation of the children there was caused by the war. He hoped that the children would be able to have a good life and walk out of the pain. Once again, he went to the sacred hole. Tai Shu Yen brought Night Sorrow to the martial arts practice field where everyone was cultivating. Seeing Night Sorrow's arrival, all the cultivator children stood up straight and called out to the hall master. Night Sorrow came in front of a girl and squatted down to straighten the girl's slightly wrinkled skirt. "Are you tired from cultivating?" Replying to the hall master, "I'm tired, but July can persevere." The little girl looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Then why did you choose to cultivate the spear?" Night Sorrow asked. "Because the hall master cultivates the spear," the girl called July said. "Very good. I'll come every once in a while. If you have any cultivation problems, you can come and find me." Night Sorrow said to July, "Commander, many children are cultivating the spear now. As for the understanding of the Tao of the spear, no one is better than you. Tell the children about your understanding of the Tao of the spear," Tai Shu Yen said. Night Sorrow nodded and took out his reincarnation spear. Actually, no matter what weapon you use, the weapon is an extension of the body. You have to respect the weapon and give it emotions. Also, tell me about some of my thoughts. Sword arts can take the path of agility, but spear arts can't. Cultivating the spear arts can't lack speed, strength, and flexibility. You have to develop it in all aspects. Night Sorrow talked about his feelings about cultivating the spear arts. Click Myriad Tao becomes a god to read for free. Chapter 894. A boy stood up and asked, "Didn't you say that we need to focus on one area and cultivate our strengths?" Blue, how much water a barrel can hold isn't decided by the highest plank, but by the lowest plank. Without speed, you won't be able to hit anyone even if you have strength. If you have speed but no strength, your attack power will be low. Night Sorrow said to the boy, "Thank you for your guidance, Hall Master." All the children bowed. City Lord Tai Shu, tell the children who practice the spear to pay attention to the cultivation of their bodies. Without a good body, they won't be able to cultivate domineering spear arts. Night Sorrow said to Tai Shu Yen. Tai Shu Yen nodded. As a half-step saint, how could she not understand the logic of Night Sorrow's words? Also, Senior Lei Hua, make some arrangements. The children need warmth. The people of Eastern Profound Region's Eastern Profound City must take care of these children. When they are not cultivating, they can be brought home to feel love and care. Let them have a happy childhood. Night Sorrow said to Lei Hua, who had been standing at the side without speaking. This subordinate will definitely do it well. Lei Hua nodded. Afterward, Night Sorrow stood in front of the group of children and taught them how to cultivate the spear. He talked about the basic spear techniques and the essence. Night Sorrow only left the sacred hall in the evening. Did everyone see that? This is the commander of our two realms, a 3-star saint. He truly cares for everyone. Everyone should be grateful. Although there was a war between the two realms, it wasn't anyone's fault. Your generation may have suffered, but the future generations of the two realms will be happy. Tai Shu Yen said. Vice Hall Master, the teachers have analyzed the war with us. We all understand that we only have respect for the Hall Master. July said. After Night Sorrow returned to the spatial passage, he took out a pen and paper and wrote down his experiences on the cultivation of the spear. He found that there were no books on the basics of the spear. Night Sorrow wrote down in detail. It was all about his understanding of the cultivation process. Jun Xuanji went to Night Sorrow's tent. Originally, he wanted to ask if the Holy Hall would accept children who had families. But when he saw that Night Sorrow was concentrating on writing, he decided to wait at the side. Only when the sky turned dark did Night Sorrow finish writing. He saw Jun Xuanji standing to the side. Jun Xuanji had also become a saint, but not for long. "Why didn't you shout when you were here?" "I didn't even notice," Night Sorrow said. "Your vigilance is too poor." Jun Xuanji was a little puzzled. She had been here for nearly 2 hours, but Night Sorrow, a 3-star saint, had not noticed her. "Do I need to be vigilant? There are so many people here. Who can directly threaten my safety?" Night Sorrow said with a smile. In truth, Jun Xuanji and Night Sorrow were just joking. If they had any hostility toward Night Sorrow would have sensed it long ago. "You're writing about the spear. What are you doing?" Jun Xuanji asked as he looked at Night Sorrow's writing. "Many children in the Holy Hall cultivate spear arts. I didn't find any introductions to the basics of spear arts, so I wrote down my own cultivation experience, hoping that it would help those children." Night Sorrow handed the book he had written to Jun Xuanji. "This is very precious. There are almost no spear masters. If you say you're second in understanding the spear, no one would dare say they're first." At this moment, she was completely certain that Yi Shang treated the children of the two worlds the same. He didn't look at them differently. "It's just some random writing," Night Sorrow said. "By the way, there's something else I need to do. The children that the Holy Hall is accepting are all children who lost their families in the war. Some of the children who have families want to join the Holy Hall. What do you think?" Jun Xuanji asked. "If we don't accept them, we're not establishing a sect or forming a faction. I just want those children who were hurt to live better lives. Others shouldn't join in the fun," Night Sorrow said. "But isn't that not too good?" Jun Xuanji said after thinking about it. "If you don't accept them, just say it's my idea. Go talk to the other 2 Grand Elders and see what they think," Night Sorrow said to Jun Xuanji. After Jun Xuanji left, Night Sorrow went to the God-slaying squad's camp. The members of the God-slaying squad were all very enthusiastic about cultivation. After all, Night Sorrow had already become a 3-star saint. How could they not be anxious? Night Sorrow was very happy to drink with everyone under the night sky. He felt that drinking with his brothers was the most realistic feeling. They drank until dawn. Only then did Night Sorrow return to the camp at the entrance of the spatial channel. Following this, he went to patrol the large array. Just as Night Sorrow returned to his tent and was about to enter the spacetime pagoda to cultivate, Long Xianxing, Xian Wenxiu, Tai Shu Yan, Jun Xuanji, and Lu Qin arrived. They were the people in charge of the Holy Hall. "Commander, we're here to talk about whether or not the Holy Hall is still accepting people. We feel that it's good to accept some people. In the future, we can set up a patrol team to maintain the peace between the 2 realms," Long Xianxing said. "Resources are limited. If the number of people increases, we'll take away some cultivation resources from those children, which goes against my original intentions. Those children can go to various factions and have many paths. The reason why I set up the Holy Hall is not for anything else but to compensate those children who have been hurt so that they can have a better life. If those children with family members join the Holy Hall, there will be competition and a sense of superiority. It's not good for those children." Night Sorrow stated the reason why he was against it. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone fell into deep thought. "That makes sense. We didn't think about it thoroughly enough," Xian Wenxiu said. At this moment, he understood how important Night Sorrow was to the children without family members in the Holy Hall. He wanted to eliminate even the slightest disadvantage. "Let's do this for the time being. After a few years, when these children are more mature and won't be disturbed by the outside world, we'll consider accepting a group of members," Night Sorrow said. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Long Xianxing, Xian Wenxiu, Taishu Yen, and the others cupped their hands and left Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow also entered the space-time pagoda and began to cultivate. This is Night Sorrow. He has a soft side in his heart. He doesn't want the children of the Holy Hall to be hurt even a little bit. Let's do as he says. Also, tell the teachers in the Holy Hall to be more compassionate. If anyone does something wrong, Night Sorrow will be angry and bear the consequences, Long Xianqing said to the others after returning to the command tent. In addition, Night Sorrow's words today must let the children know that they need to grow up with compassion in their hearts. This is good for their body and mind, Xian Wenxiu added. Xuanji will do it well. As a woman, I'm not as thorough as him in this aspect. I'm really ashamed, Jun Xuanji said with a sigh. Download Myriad Dao Ascension for free. Chapter 895. At this time, everyone had a better understanding of Night Sorrow and Night Sorrow's inner world. This is the heart of a benevolent person. It's a blessing for both realms to have such a commander. Xian Wenxiu was a little emotional. He even felt that this war wasn't a bad thing for the Profound Mysteries realm. Even though they were currently under attack, it would be extremely beneficial for their future development. This was because they had a commander like Yi Shang. As for how long this situation could last, Xian Wenxiu wasn't worried. Venerables had 800 years of lifespan, while saints had 3,000. Night Sorrow was now in his 20s. Even if Night Sorrow didn't improve, he would still have 3,000 years of lifespan. He could maintain the stability of the two realms for 3,000 years. At that time, the two realms would become one. Furthermore, Night Sorrow was only in his 20s. No one knew what his future achievements would be like. At this time, Wu Lingfei also came to the tent. With so many people gathered, she thought something had happened. His plagiarized version X, Senior Sister Wu, you've come at the right time. There's something we need your help with. Taishu Yan had said that Night Sorrow had asked the people of Dongxian City to bring the children of the Sacred Hall back to their homes to feel the warmth. For this matter, you can look for Lei Hua and the others. I'm not from the Sacred Hall, said Wu Lingfei. No, if Senior Sister Wu doesn't personally arrange it, I'll talk to the commander later and have him find something for Senior Sister Wu to do. The Sacred Hall has already been arranged in the eastern Xian region. If we look for Senior Sister Wu to do something, and Senior Sister is like this, do you agree? Taishu Yan glanced at Long Xianqing and Xian Wenxiu. All right, I'll go arrange it. I'm really afraid of you, said Wu Lingfei. She really didn't want Taishu Yan to ask Night Sorrow to arrange something for her. She didn't like it, and she wasn't used to it. Night Sorrow was cultivating on the 73rd floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. He didn't lack resources. What he needed was time. As time passed, Night Sorrow's cultivation base steadily increased. After spending half a year in seclusion, Night Sorrow came out of seclusion and patrolled the array formation once more. At this time, the ancient netherworld tree was growing at a crazy rate, and it had already surrounded the array formation so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. In addition, only 2 teleportation arrays that Night Sorrow had set up remained. The rest had been destroyed. After exiting the formation, Night Sorrow went to the command tent. Commander, you disappeared for half a year. Why didn't you go to the Saint Hall? Those children all want to see you. Taishu Yan looked at Night Sorrow and said. She was very shocked because she found that Night Sorrow's cultivation was close to the late stage of the 3-star Saint realm. What shocked her the most was that she felt a great pressure from Night Sorrow's body. It was an extremely domineering yang power. All right, let's make a trip there, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow also planned to take a look at the Saint Hall. He also had other things to do. After rapidly increasing his cultivation base by a few levels, Night Sorrow's true chi attribute wasn't in a saturated state. His void attribute power couldn't keep up. He wanted to take a look at the void fiend space. If necessary, he would dig up the void crystal. When Night Sorrow arrived, the children of the Saint Hall were practicing spear techniques in the martial arts field. Almost all of them were practicing spear techniques. Seeing July, whose cultivation base was already at the peak stage of element gathering realm, trying hard to wave her spear, Night Sorrow walked over. Seeing Night Sorrow, July's eyes lit up. However, as Night Sorrow approached, she kept retreating. This situation made Night Sorrow stop and look at Jun Xuanji, who was walking over. Why are they afraid of me? At this time, July wasn't the only one retreating. The other children were also retreating. It's not that they are afraid of you. It's just that the pressure on your body is too strong. Even I feel a little uncomfortable, let alone them, Jun Xuanji said. Jun Xuanji looked at Night Sorrow and asked. She didn't understand why Night Sorrow's aura was so strong that people couldn't look straight at him. Night Sorrow shook his head and used the power of law to suppress the flow of his blood and chi. He was now at the late stage of 3-star golden body realm. His body was indestructible, and the flow of his blood and chi had great power. So, no matter who faced him, they would feel pressure. Uncle didn't notice. It's fine now. Night Sorrow waved at the children of the Saint Hall. Greetings, Lord Commander. All the children bowed. Back then, Tai Shiyan and Jun Xuanji had told the children that Yi Shang had refused to let the other children join the Holy Hall so that they wouldn't be affected. This had caused the children to have different feelings towards Yi Shang. Don't be like this. You can call me uncle. I'm ranked 13th in the sect. You can call me 13th uncle. Night Sorrow waved at July and the children. You can really call me uncle. July's voice was trembling because she no longer had any relatives. Really? I'll be your uncle from now on. Night Sorrow walked over and held July's hand. 13th uncle, July called out softly. Holding July's hand, Night Sorrow looked at all the children and said, You don't have any relatives. I, Night Sorrow, am your relative. From today onwards, as long as you don't lose out, as long as you don't lose out, as long as you feel wronged or bullied, you can come to me. Chapter 896. Waving goodbye to the child, Night Sorrow left the sacred hole. Cradle book cradle, he hurried to the Medicine Valley and arrived at the location of the void fiendish space. He tore open the spatial barrier and entered the void fiendish space. Night Sorrow could clearly feel the changes in the void space. He could even change the structure of the energy in the space with his thoughts. Standing on the ground of the void space, Night Sorrow could feel that the void fate pearl was the void space and had already enveloped the void space. In other words, Night Sorrow had passed through the void fate pearl and entered the void space. When the void space shrank to the same size as the void fate pearl, Night Sorrow would completely refine the void space. Yi Shang flew to the lone peak that towered into the clouds. At this time, he could feel the dense void attribute energy. He had never felt it so clearly before. This was the effect of refining the void fiendish space. Sitting on the peak of the broken mountain, Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate. Since he could feel the void energy, there was no need for him to dig up the crystals. He could just meditate and absorb the void energy to cultivate. After sitting down cross-legged, Night Sorrow communicated with his soul power. Under the guidance of Night Sorrow's soul power, the void energy in the mountain below him pervaded and surrounded him. Night Sorrow did not need to absorb the void energy. He could directly refine it. He was now the master of the void space, so it was not difficult for him to do this. While absorbing the void energy to cultivate, he also took the blood crystal of the four-clawed silver dragon to cultivate the myriad Tao tome. Once Night Sorrow started cultivating, he lost track of time. He meditated for half a year, and only stood up when he had raised the void attribute to its fullest state. At this time, his cultivation had already reached the peak of the 3-star Saint realm, and his physical cultivation had also reached the peak of the 3-star Golden Body realm. Night Sorrow stood up, tidied his robe, and flew toward the lava lake. He wanted to see the situation of the lava lake. After arriving at the lava lake, Night Sorrow discovered that the lava lake had shrunk slightly. Without the presence of a fire attribute origin stone, the lava lake had stopped growing. Night Sorrow, I can hold some. You can bring them back to the spatial tunnel and test their effects. Shao Kong's voice rang out in Night Sorrow's divine sea. It won't harm you, Night Sorrow said. He was interested in Little Kong's thoughts, but he didn't want to harm the spacetime pagoda. It's just consuming some energy. It's not a big problem. Just try it out with a bit less energy. If it's okay, you can just wait for the void domain to be refined. There's no need to think of other methods, Shao Kong said. Following that, Night Sorrow opened the spacetime pagoda and absorbed the lava into it, filling up the first level of the spacetime pagoda. After that, Night Sorrow quickly left. He had to get to the spatial tunnel as soon as possible. Because the spacetime pagoda contained the lava, it consumed a lot of energy. After exiting the void domain, Night Sorrow went to Taichuan and teleported to the entrance of the Nether realm. Night Sorrow used the law of nothingness to protect himself as he rushed through the array. He used 2 slashes that already contained the law of space. Then, he transferred the flames of the spacetime pagoda to the ancient netherworld trees. After transferring the flames, Night Sorrow retreated to the array to observe the situation. He heard creaking sounds. The roots of the ancient netherworld trees were being burned. Some of the ancient netherworld trees even moved to avoid the burning flames. The lava flames were very violent. Even with the energy of death surrounding them, the ancient netherworld trees couldn't withstand it. Good. Night Sorrow growled. If the lava flames were effective, then after the void domain was completely integrated, this place could be resolved. In the tent of the Nether realm, the 8 Hell Kings held their heads and growled. What's wrong? 9 in Hades came to the tent of the 8 Hell Kings. Damn it, I don't know where they got a bunch of flames. The ancient tree that's being damaged is the one this king merged with. The 8 Hell Kings' face was a little pale. Is the problem serious? 9 in Hades asked. It's not serious. There aren't many flames. The ancient netherworld tree just needs to move away and use the energy of the nether to exhaust the flames. The problem is whether they can still get such flames. If there are a lot of them, it'll be troublesome. The 8 Hell Kings calmed down and said. It shouldn't be. But be careful, 8 Hell Kings. Don't let your true body get hurt. 9 in Hades reminded the 8 Hell Kings. This king has already retreated a little. The 8 Hell Kings said. The 8 Hell Kings' true body had extended his lifespan by merging with the ancient netherworld tree, so his clone's lifespan wasn't affected. The one talking to 9 in Hades now was his clone. Night Sorrow saw that it was effective and was very happy. He felt that he could go back and forth a few times. Even if he couldn't break the ancient netherworld tree, the nether realm would still be afraid. Yu Qing and Wu Lingfei walked over when they saw Night Sorrow coming out of the array with a smile. They were originally chatting, but seeing that Night Sorrow was in a good mood, they came over to ask. I went to deal with the ancient netherworld tree. The effect is pretty good. Night Sorrow explained the situation. That's not bad. Even if it can't break it directly, it'll still make them feel uncomfortable. Wu Lingfei said. Mother, Aunt Faye, you guys continue chatting. I'll go back and forth a few more times. In the future, the ancient netherworld tree won't dare to come close to the array. It'll still have a big impact on them. Knight Sorrow went through the spatial tunnel and went to the void fiendish space to get more flames. Knight Sorrow went back and forth to get the flames 3 times. The 8 Hell Kings could only control the ancient netherworld tree to retreat a distance because the flames were very harmful to the tree. After going back and forth 3 times, Knight Sorrow stopped. In order to not get hurt, Little Sky needed too much energy from spiritual stones. It cost 5 top-grade spiritual stones each time. At present, he couldn't change the situation of the war, so Knight Sorrow didn't waste his time. Knight Sorrow didn't continue to move the flames, but the ancient netherworld tree, which had already retreated a distance, didn't dare to come close to the array. At the same time, the flames destroyed the effect of the ancient netherworld tree's growth seal, and some of its roots were burned away. The Nine King was very angry, but she couldn't do anything. The combination of the Great Cycle Array and the 1000 Development Illusionary Array was an extreme defense that she couldn't break. Nine King, how about this? Get some netherworld twin-tailed bees and throw them into the array. This way, even if the netherworld twin-tailed bees are trapped, their attack power will still be there. If it's not an extreme attack, it won't hurt the small netherworld twin-tailed bees, the 8 Hell Kings said. That works, but that's a double-edged sword. We can't control the netherworld twin-tailed bees. Throw them into the array and make it a forbidden zone for both sides. This method works. The Nine King nodded and then called the 7 Fiends King to deal with this matter. The netherworld twin-tailed bees were small, but they were poisonous. They weren't afraid of sword rays or earth energy attacks. If they wanted to capture them, they had to seal the nest and capture the nest together. After releasing the flames a few times, Knight Sorrow went to cultivate. He wanted to raise his cultivation to the 4-star saint realm. That way, his combat power would increase by a lot. There was a big difference between a mid-level saint and a beginner saint. Click Becoming God by 10,000 Dao to read it for free. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.